This is 9 to Noon with John Kuhn.
You know, I hope they don't have to go to John Kuhn either at quarterback, but I'd sure like to see what he's capable of doing.
Bill Schmidt.
I think it's going to be extremely fun.
And Armin Saryan.
Oh, man, I don't know. I hope I can live up to the hype.
Nooners. Hit the guys up on the Pella WI Talk and Text line at 414-799-1973.
Unbelievably fantastic, man. I love to listen to your show.
9 to Noon is brought to you by Palermo's. When you want pizza, you want Palermo's. Made right here in Wisconsin for over 55 years. Palermo's, Wisconsin's hometown pizza. Welcome to 9 to Noon.
9 to noon on a Tuesday, a playoff week as the Packers get ready to go down to Dallas, and we hang out with you and get ready for that matchup with one of the heart and soul members of the Green and Gold, Aaron Jones. Going to join the conversation here today. Matt Schneidman, as always, after an L last night.
Oh, man.
Yikes.
Oh, man.
Not getting a G today. We'll be at 10 o'clock. You're not going to want to miss that. Armin, sorry, and the voice you just heard right there behind the board. John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. And yesterday, well, listen, we were all sitting here on the Huskies. John, it was an exciting game for much of the night, but it was the crowning achievement for the Michigan Wolverines. They haven't won an individual national championship since like the 40s, but they're the
a long ass time.
But they're the winningest program in terms of wins all time. Now, granted, they won some of those against like JV high school teams, but we'll leave those 1910s victories alone.
I also think
the chopping block
148 years of college football really helps.
That kind of helps them in that regard too. Yeah, first team to get to 1,000 wins, they win the national title, and they were they were the bully that college football kind of hated all year long, but it felt like they were the college football story all year long, so it kind of feels right that they ended up hoisting the trophy here at the end of the deal.
And I knew my can't miss was in trouble. I felt okay with you on my side. You know, yours was more of a futures play, so you had no choice.
Yeah.
That's different.
You had to be in.
Pot committed.
And when you jumped on board, I thought, well, he had a futures play, so he's already pot committed. It doesn't matter. It's still me picking either way here based off of what I've seen the last month or two of the season. But when I walked into the brick and the stick yesterday, Matt Schneidman told me, yeah, I think I'm switching from Michigan to Washington. I told him, I said, no, don't do it. You're going to mess us all up. You're going to ruin this for all of us. If it's 3 in a row, it's 3 in a no. And that's what's going to happen here. And sure enough, first drive for Michigan.
Boy,
Washington can't even get their fits straight on a run play. And I knew the fits were so bad on that run. I knew Washington was in for a world of hurt. And I thought potentially Washington could keep up in a shootout with Michigan, catching 5 points. If this thing finished 34-35 or 34-30, I'm feeling pretty good about this thing. But it didn't happen because Michael Penix could not ever get anything going the way that they had gotten things rolling in the games that I had watched them in this year, in some big-time games against Oregon twice, and then last week against Texas. Michigan, definitely the best team in college football this year.
He had some misses that were kind of uncharacteristic, at least for the playoff run, like the one on 4th and 7 inside the Michigan territory. I think that was when it was 17-3, and then it felt like it was going to go down and be 24-3, and we were going to be in TCU Georgia territory. Like I was nervous that we were going to be tipping the scales at blowout city there for a little bit, and then both offenses just hit a deep freeze like we were supposed to have here today,
which I thought was ironic. I mean, that did feel like a big play, the one they missed, and it was obviously because it would have been a huge touchdown, would have gotten back within 7. But this thing was 20-13 for a good quarter and a half. I mean, there was a punt fest there for a while, and you said to yourself, Washington's had plenty of chances here to come back down and tie this game. This was in no way, like you said, like a blowout, or Michigan didn't run away with it really until the end. They got that final drive and put it away, but it was. Yeah,
those couple of scores late made it look even worse than it ended up being, in a really, really nice interception by the nickelback there for Michigan, almost housing that bad boy from 90 plus away. But yeah, it was an uncharacteristic night from Penix. Everybody going into the night had talked about it glowingly and on the optimistic side of things for his NFL draft stock of, man, you could move yourself right on into, who knows, maybe top 20 territory with it. That night, John, I don't think ends up hurting him too much, but it's a disappointing night to be your final case if you're a fifth, sixth year senior trying to get yourself into one of those spots somewhere in the top 60.
It was one of those games where you thought maybe Michael Penix could bump himself up to a late first rounder. And there's a reason why the professionals that scout these things have said Caleb Williams, have said Drake May, and Michael Penix Jr. was never really in that conversation with those players, even though he had an exceptional season this year. There's a reason for that. But if you get fire in a college football season, and we've seen it happen with a lot of quarterbacks, especially at the tail end and into a college football playoff and into a national championship game, you can bump yourself up. I don't necessarily think it makes it any worse than what it was this season, but he had an opportunity to really elevate his draft stock and his draft status in this one. I don't think he did that. I think he ends up probably being somewhere in a mid-round guy now, and maybe somebody gets a steal out of him in a mid-round like they did a Russell Wilson kind of back in the day. So Michael Penix Jr. unfortunately did not have the game I thought he was going to have last night.
Well, and it's so tough because like I feel like second round quarterbacks are mostly going to go somewhat extinct here, right? Like, because if you like a quarterback enough to take him in the second round, you might as well take him in the first round. So then you get the additional year on the fifth year option if there's going to be a time for the kid to sit and then play. And I don't know that he's top 60 if the clock and then the contract doesn't match up. Like, it's difficult from that side. And please don't take this as me being on the losing side of a wager, saying that there was anything nefarious necessarily going on.
That's how I'm taking it no matter what now. Sorry.
ESPN wanted Harbaugh to win that freaking game last night.
Okay.
I mean, are we kidding with how many different shots over to John Harbaugh? We knew that Jack and Jackie were going to come on down.
Tom Crean was down there.
They were hoping, salivating at the thought that Jim Harbaugh was going to hand the mic off to his dad like he did on the trophy celebration. Who's got it better than us? Nobody.
Did you know?
I mean, they wanted that so bad. And for all those folks in Bristol, Connecticut,
did
congratulations.
Jack Harbaugh start that thing?
I was just going to say, was that him?
I've been hearing that for years. Did he start that? Where was he a coach?
He was a coach at Michigan, an assistant coach at Michigan for a long time.
He won a national championship coaching something. Was it Mercyhurst or something like that? Where did he coach?
Look it up for you. Jack Harbaugh, yeah.
Jim was talking about it as the story that he would do that little "who's got it better than us" nobody, like when they would walk to school in the morning of, hey, we're not driving, we're walking. We're going to get 100 dribbles to the right and 100 dribbles to the left. So, I mean, like, it's, you know what? Good for them.
He won the Division I AA NCAA championship in 2002 with Western Kentucky, according to Wikipedia.
There we go. Hilltoppers.
Yeah. And Jack Harbaugh. Yeah, they have him as an assistant coach. Obviously here. So he's.
Oh yeah,
they have him as an assistant coach, national champion here.
Like they talk about it and send him different. Like he'll watch the practice film from Michigan and
come on,
Baltimore.
He's the coach's dad. He's not an assistant coach, right? He's not actually on staff though.
Right now, I don't believe he's on staff.
But
potentially,
but they're giving it to him on Wikipedia. Okay, all right. It's fine.
Well, you could have went on in there and changed.
That's a weird family.
He's a consultant. Well, he wouldn't have been on TV that much last night if he wasn't.
I know.
I don't think ESPN necessarily wanted anything. I think they had great suspicion, and they probably, were checking in with Feinbaum and everybody else that they have that does this stuff. Kirk and okay, who are you thinking here? Michigan's going to be a Michigan. Well, all the Hardballs are going to be in the house. We better get on them.
We better get ready to go.
This is like Patrick Mahomes' wife and Taylor Swift. We better get on this. We're gonna have Jim and John and Jack, and how does it get any better than that?
And then John Harbaugh is going to have weather delays, and he's not going to be able to get here. And then we're finally going to be able to have that nice embrace moment in the first quarter where, oh my God, buddy, I didn't know you were going to be able to make it because of the snow. And it's just a great moment for the family. I am good for them, good for Michigan, good for Jim Harbaugh. Now he's going to go be somebody's problem in the NFL, and by problem, I mean could be beautiful, hot success for the first 3-4 years, then potentially wear on everybody like he did in San Francisco. But I think that was his last game at Michigan, John. If it is, he goes into the NFL with insane success, 15-0 national title. Also very much Pete Carroll-esque, where there's a lot of situations descending upon Ann Arbor, I would imagine, within the next 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, and you got to ask yourself, are you happy? Do you feel complete staying in college? Because what he's done with Michigan the last 3 years has been pretty spectacular. I mean, it was just a few years ago. We're talking with Harbaugh about could he be out? He can't beat Ohio State. Could he be out because he can't beat that team? It's like Ohio State is that team. They're the Green Bay Packers to the Chicago Bears. They are that team. He couldn't beat them. He got over the hump, 3 straight college playoffs, and now a national championship. And you would think, would you want to stay 10 years? 125 million is what people are speculating the contract is that's sitting on his desk with just one thing in it that says you can't go to the National Football League in your first year. Would you do that? Or is the national championship sweet, but it's kind of like eating the best appetizer in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You want the best entree.
Now we're talking.
Want a Super Bowl. And he was so close to that. It was his brother that actually took that away from him. And he talked last night post-game about being able to sit at the big boy table now that he has a national championship. Like his brother has a Super Bowl and his dad has a national championship. So now he has a national championship there. But does he really feel like he's accomplished all that he's accomplished? Or is getting out while the getting's good part of this whole deal? And for everybody that says, well, he shouldn't even be looked at, he's a dishonest person, he's going through a scandal at Michigan, and now he's going to just be able to leave Michigan with all the settle,
of course,
with all this dust when this thing blows up, and they're going to have to deal with it, and he can just leave. That's not wrong. It's kind of what coaches do, man. Some of the best
it's kind of big
business.
Yeah, it's kind of college sports.
Okay, not every coach does that.
Not even college sports. Bill Belichick. When we talk about Pete Carroll, then you talk about Bill Belichick. You hear grumblings of Lincoln Riley at times. I mean, it's all of them. If you're not skirting those rules, you might not be pushing it hard enough. And a lot of the great ones do. Sean Payton. I mean, the list goes on and on of great coaches that are highly coveted, that are given $100 million contracts, and they're the guys that are skirting that line.
Mm-hmm.
No, I understand lines are pushed sometimes, but I don't think it's fair to say every coach does it. But I think, it's lines are pushed. But if you're Harbaugh, there's a great time to leave, though, because whatever you think about what he did, there might be some more coming down the line for him, and he might have to deal with it, and it'll be a headache. So why not? Your legacy is set now in terms of that sense for Michigan fans. He's accomplished what else? There's nothing else to accomplish at that level.
What no other Michigan guy was able to do was come back and bring them back to this kind of prominence.
And a lot of them thought it was not going to be possible. They're just like, well, we just can't have the type of program anymore to win a national championship. We're not really kind of the team that's built for that playoff scenario. We're not a shootout team. He was able to do it. Colossal achievement, if that's how you look at it. So now you go for the next achievement, which is a Super Bowl. I think that's the way I would look at it. I mean, obviously they'll back the Brinks truck up, but anyone will do that. He's going to make money whatever he does next. It's not a money issue.
Yeah, and I'd really be surprised if he stays. And the other part of it is, John, you mentioned it. Now at the big boy table, but now let's do it in the men's league. Let's see if you're able to do it where he was so close and had such a great chance to be able to win it with San Francisco. And the brother part of that 49ers Ravens game, I again, maybe color me strange here, I think that's almost more of a driving force for him to want to go win it because he lost it to his brother. You lose one to anybody, you're going to be extremely motivated to get back. But to have that lasting memory, I just think that he's got some real unfinished business at the pro level that he wants to go and get.
Well, and his brother has the best team in the league this year and looks like they could be a shoo-in for the Super Bowl once again. And his brother, every time they go to that family get-together, he's there.
Oh, he's wearing the ring, too.
Hey, congratulations, Jim, on your national championship. Hey, John, oh, man, hell of a year out of the Ravens this year. You guys going to do it again? You going to get another big fat ring? You going to hoist that Lombardi? Are you going to do that again? Who's the halftime show going to be? It's like, hey, good. But your national championship's great, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, Beyonce is going to be here. She's going to knock the lights out again here for the Super Bowl halftime show. But Fantasia was awesome. Yeah, don't worry about it. That was awesome there at NRG. Jim Harbaugh, fantastic coach, and we'll see where he ends up going. Maybe you don't hire Don Yee to stay in college. That's what I would assume.
The last thing about Harbaugh, which actually really impresses me, is that I knew that his style of coaching would suit college better than it did in the NFL, right? And that's kind of his thing. He likes to push and demand and control and it's kind of militant, right?
Mhm.
It's the old school coaching style. And there are a lot of people that said the reason why it burnt out in San Francisco is because he went in there and he got that team young. But as that team aged, he did not age with them. He continued that same kind of militant way of a process with meetings and practice and physicality and things like that. And guys got burnt out from it. Patrick Willis retired after 8 or 9 years as one of the best players in the entire NFL. And I was curious going back to college, how well would it work? And when it didn't work right away, and then we had the COVID year and you had the NIL and you had the transfer portal, I thought, man, this is going to be bad for Harbaugh. He's going to lose players that come in and don't want to go through that grind, don't want to go through that kind of building where you break a player down and you build him back up. But he was able to do it, and he was able to do it at the hardest time it's been to potentially do that to players, still get to a college football playoff a couple times and win it. I mean, that's what impressed me about it, is he was still able to apply his system in a time when his system, man, if it doesn't work right away, guys are out.
It is really impressive, John, because it also seemed like, at least from the conversation last night and everything you heard from any of these players throughout the entire year, it was kind of the same system that he tried to instill at the NFL level, right? It is, though, the camaraderie part of it, and as push as much as you can for your brothers next to you. And I think that has gotten at least a little bit lost in the big business of college football and the free movement that players have had. Is it's been more difficult to build that kind of love for each other and go through all that stuff. They had a lot of dudes that had a chance to go to the NFL last year. Pretty much every single one of them stayed for the thought that they were going to be able to go and do this. And then they end up doing it. It is pretty cool to watch. It's a crowning achievement for them. They were the best team in college football this year, and it makes sense that they end up hoisting. And now we'll see where everything ends up, because JJ McCarthy, I don't know if anybody else watched last night. That didn't really look like a pro guy to me quite yet. He might benefit from another year in college, but if your coach is leaving, maybe I'll leave too. Maybe the Packers will leave Dallas with a victory. It's going to be a difficult one going up against a team that's averaging 35 plus points at home. But we have an X-Poll question before. Hopefully we are joined at some point here today, and it's going to be within 10 minutes from right now, as Aaron Jones is going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. So we'll get this to you quickly so you can go right away at 9, the number 2 noon on Twitter, or X if you prefer to call it that, and vote on our poll question here today about the Dallas Cowboy game coming up on Sunday, and about your Green Bay Packers and everyone's favorite coach in Green Bay that they would like to leave, Joe Barry. What does the outcome have to be for Joe Barry to hold on to his job after Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys? Just win, baby. In between 0 to 10 points, pitching damn near a shutout, or holding Dak Prescott in one of the most explosive offenses to 10 points or less. In between 10 and 20, but you get a win, or no. Just no. I don't want any way possible Joe Barry flying back on the team plane and taking and coordinating the Green Bay Packer defense in 2024. That's the no means no camp. And John, surprisingly in here, 300 votes already in here in the first 10 minutes, 40% already plus on the no. Just no. People have their mind made up.
Shocking, right?
People got their mind made up. But those just win categories trying to creep themselves on up. A victory.
Interesting. With the best snow at 40%, it's the leader in the clubhouse. But that's not what I expected.
What'd you think, John? Yeah.
A few weeks ago, everybody, it was unanimous. Even I was saying, well, it's probably inevitable. The performance here against the Giants, the Bucks, and the Panthers have put this thing in such a bad space that, you're probably going to have to part ways at the end of the season and just get a fresh take on things. Sometimes everybody needs a makeover. But now we're getting acknowledgement by 60%. And I know, No Just Knows winning this thing. We got 60% of this talking text line that's saying, well,
there could be a
chance. Win, or if it goes 0 to 10, or there's people saying there's a way that Joe Barry can earn his job back in their mind. 60%. 60% now Packer fans are saying, we will consider having Joe Barry back, but let's see the outcome of this Cowboy game.
The base has shifted a little bit. Yeah.
The foundation is shaking a little bit.
Yeah. I think that doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, I think as sports fans, we a little bit change our whims are can be changed every week to week by result. We do change our minds fast. I appreciate you still saying that, by the way, who still calls like Twitter. Like, I think Mike Heller is the only guy that calls it X consistently.
Only guy
That's like the one guy I know that calls it X consistently.
Which is impressive because, when you've been in this business for as long as Mike Heller has, you would believe you want to just stay status quo. You're going to entrench yourself in what you do and not adjust, not
No, I know.
Look for ways to improve.
And he
seems like he's doing it.
He's
pretty
evolved.
impressive.
He's been evolving,
continually evolving, kind of like us.
Still calling it Twitter though.
You're not changing.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Well, you would have gotten fired like Harbaugh would have if you wouldn't have changed and wouldn't have, changed up his offense after that COVID year. Embraced NIL, embraced the transfer portal. You'd have been gassed. Well, you know what? I'm glad you're not. You're right there, and you're not leaving. You better not leave because Aaron Jones is on the other side of this timeout. Last time Aaron Jones went down to Dallas, you know what happened? Not one, not two, not three, but 4 TDs and a wave goodbye to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see if he's waving goodbye to the 2023 Dallas Cowboys. Showtime 33 is with John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian on 9 to noon, right after this.
Dougie told me he been on some positive. Yeah, yeah. Lately I just wanna show up and body some. Yeah, yeah. Always been a little mathematician. Lately it's cash I'm getting. Got me losing count of these bags. I've been moving too fast. Hard times don't last. Remember when cops are rats talking out my boy, you ain't with a badge. All my life. They be trying to keep me down.
It's 9 to noon on the game inside the Iron Jock Studios, ironjoc.com. Before Aaron Jones pops on here, check out our Twitter poll question because it is going to be doing robust business here today. 9, the number 2 noon. It's how you follow along with the program every single day. And might be able to watch the program there coming up here in a couple of days. More on that as we continue moving forward. How many points does Joe Barry need to hold the Cowboys to Sunday to save his job? It's already shrinking, 40.1% now. No, just no. Don't let him fly back with the team. Leave him in Dallas, whatever it is. That doesn't even matter if they would win. They could win 31-0 and you still want Joe Barry gone. But listen, just win, baby. 27.3%. 10 to 20 points with a win over the 20-point threshold. Now, there's 11% of people that say you better shut him out or hold him to 10 points, John. That's the only way possible. It's already creeping. It's already getting a little bit closer to people being open to the Joe Barry reunion than we had previously anticipated it could be here on this program.
Yeah, and I started to wonder that myself, right? You go to Minnesota, which is a tough environment to play, and you hold them to 10 points. And even out of those 10 points, 7 were gifted to you because of a dropped punt by Samori Toure. So you got to say the defense played phenomenal in that football game, and then they backed it up with an offense that had been scoring some points against some teams. Chicago's offense had been scoring some points recently against some pretty good defenses, including Cleveland, including Tampa. They had scored some points. So you did have to wonder yourself, okay, now we've got 2 in a row. And if we do something, we weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. Now we're in the playoffs. And we're surely not supposed to beat the 2 seed Dallas Cowboys in their number 1 ranked offense in terms of scoring points. And they score them at a higher clip at home than anywhere else. If you go down there and you put a performance on the board again, maybe something happened after that Carolina game. Maybe they decided to start attacking and maybe they saw the light. And is it too late to see the light? Is it too late to see the light and go through this? Well, 60% of Packer fans say no, it's not too late.
Matt LaFleur also, after that Carolina game and after the Tampa Bay game, said that he was going to be more involved in the communication over on the defensive side. Yesterday was asked about it. So it's been drastic, the amount more that I've been putting on in. However, not necessarily drastic as in he's making a drastic impact just on him. He's like, well, I know way more about what's going on, and I'm listening to way more than I had ever anticipated while we're on defense, and instead was thinking about more on the offensive side and trying to be more plugged in. Let me just read a couple of these comments here quickly. Taryn Nichols tweets on it. She goes, I accidentally voted just win, baby, thinking it meant let's not worry about Joe Barry. Let's just win. So I want it on record that even if the NFL implemented a new rule resulting in the Cowboys having negative points, I still want a new DC. Jeez, Taryn.
There's still 40. We're talking about the 60%.
Maybe
there's still 40 out there.
Only if they pitch a shutout, score 2 defensive touchdowns, and Jair delivers a baby in the front row. Now, that would be a spectacle.
Oh, phenomenal. Ja putting a mask on. Would he do it with sunglasses? Would he have the belt on while he's delivering his
He's
thing?
got to have the sunglasses on, because there could be some spray.
He's already wearing gloves, so he's definitely...
He'd be okay that way. Yeah. Bring the baby right on out. It would pale still in comparison to the impressive feat that our next guest did when he went down to Dallas the last time. Aaron Jones joining us now on 9 to noon, courtesy of Miller Lite. Great taste, only 96 calories. It's Miller Time, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. And by Rogers Behavioral Health. It was a 4-piece, 4 TDs for Showtime 33. Last time he was in AT&T Stadium. Got to feel good, but Aaron, throughout the year, getting to this point, getting to the playoffs, I can only imagine was the goal that everybody had hoped to be able to talk about, and now it's a reality. Congratulations on it. What did you think was the most impressive part of how your team fought on Sunday?
Just how we continue to battle. We continue to play off of each other. That was the biggest thing. We used our momentum. Our defense played well. We felt like on the offensive side of the ball, they really didn't stop us. We just got to, score in the red zone, and we'll be better in that aspect. But we felt like we play a good game, and it was good enough to get us into the second season, and that's ultimately what we played for.
It is ultimately what the Green Bay Packers play for. The Chicago Bears have not been there in a long time, and I thought it was really fitting that it was Chicago that was coming to town to try and keep you guys out this time. It looked like the game was chippy. Things have been chippy all season coming out of language-wise out of Chicago, and even after the game, tell us how much more it meant just being the Bears than really anybody else that you got to secure this deal.
Definitely. We knew this would be like a Super Bowl to them, and how much it would mean to them if they could keep us out of the Super Bowl. Not Super Bowl, but the playoffs, much like Detroit did last year. And with it being a big rival, it does get chippy. It was very chippy, but it made it that much better that it was our rival, and the game, it meant something to them too.
Now, the game is always chippy between the Bears and the Packers, and yet there were some Bears talking after the game about you guys were baiting them into trying to get penalties. What was that? Were they just taking the loss poorly?
I think so. That's not our style of play. You can look across the film. We never try to bait anybody to anything. We play between the whistles, and if things get chippy, we're there to have our teammates back. But yeah, I think that's more of a case of just not taking the loss well.
Yeah, you could almost taste the salt on the words that Jaquan Brisker and company were sending on out there.
Salt on those sour grapes, maybe a little bit.
Very
too.
much so. Yeah, no doubt about it. Aaron Jones joined us here on 9 to Noon. Aaron, all off season long, it felt like every national television show talking about the NFL that could get you on, got you on, and put you in the most uncomfortable situation possible. Do you want Jordan Love or do you want Aaron Rodgers to be your quarterback? And you had everyone's back. Said we'd welcome Aaron back with open arms. But if Jordan plays, we're very, very confident in it. You're getting very much rewarded for that confidence in Jordan. Where did that come from? Where was that founded? And when you knew that he was going to get his shot, how confident were you, somebody that's seen him in the building for these 4 years? How confident were you that this performance that we've seen for 17 games was what you guys were going to get?
Well, I was pretty confident. I was on television speaking about him, and then once we found out that Aaron wasn't coming back and Jordan was going to be our quarterback, you heard me speaking highly of Jordan. Even then, just seeing him in practice, that he had time to develop, he had time to learn, just sit back and learn and grow. And he never rushed it. He never wanted, hey, when is it my turn? He knew his opportunity would come at some point. Just soak it all in and learn as much as you can. And he did that. And I knew he would make the most of his opportunities. You could see it in practice. He was going against our starting defense every day, and he would just continue to grow. And you see his confidence grow and making throws, and you're like, oh, those aren't normal throws, and you start to see it.
Yeah, Jordan has been spectacular. You're absolutely right there, Aaron. But I feel that this offense has ticked up the last several games because of Showtime. Showtime is back, and that's what Wayne likes to say. Aaron Jones can be back from an injury, but we need Showtime. Tell us about these last 3 games. First time a Packer's going over 100 yards, 3 games in a row since 2006. Were you aware of that statistic, by the way?
I was not aware of that statistic. That's a great statistic. That's a great list to join. I feel like I should have been there sooner, but I'm glad to accomplish that feat and hope to make it 4.
Just pass that along to your agent.
It's really been a season of just nagging injuries that have lingered, and even when you came back from the hamstring, then the knee. I mean, this team battled itself this year to get into the playoffs, but you battled yourself to get back to prime form at the most important time of the season. How tough was the season for you?
It was tough. A lot of, like you said, dealing with a lot of injury from the hamstring to the knee. You want to be out there with the guys. You want to lead them, and you're doing everything you can to be out there. You're coming back. You're not 100%, but you're trying to be out there. And so just to get back healthy, being able to play the way you want to play is big. And I felt like once I was able to get back healthy, I'm able to take a lot of things off. I'm able to take things off of people's plate, like make the game easier for a lot of people, open up things. When we're able to run the ball, things like that, it opens up so many different things. It opens up the playbook.
This Packers offense has been a joy to watch this year. And quite frankly, a lot of attention on Jordan Love, rightfully so. The young wide receivers doing their damn thing, the tight ends as well, you being back and going for over 100 yards. But I think one of the most improved spots on this offense, hands down, from the beginning of the season to now, is the offensive line. Tell us what the big guys have been doing.
They just stay true to themselves, continue to work every day. And they just continue to get better. You see them. I feel like it as a unit. It takes time. You know, it's a lot of communication. 5 guys have to be in sync all at once, and so once those guys just got used to playing, I feel like once those guys got used to playing together, you really saw the difference.
Now, Aaron, I apologize for the letter that the NFL sent you after that wave down in Dallas after the 4 TDs. If we could have given a GoFundMe page, we would have done it for you because that was just so sweet, and every Packer fan would have done the exact same thing if they could have. But can you, if you can, remember and recant just some of what you were feeling that day? That was an absolute heater last time you stepped into that stadium that you're going to play this playoff game in on Sunday. What was the mindset like? Did you feel like something was going to be special that day? And again, it's 5 years ago. You've had a kid in between here. I imagine the memory bank is a little bit difficult to tap on into, but 4 TDs,
Kids
that one
will mess you up.
That one still might be a little bit fresh in your mind.
You know, just going back home, Texas is home for me, so it's always special. Playing my childhood team. You know, it's just nothing different. You know, just continue to try to prove myself, and yeah, that's really it. I feel like it's just, you know, it's like a full 360 moment when you're playing a childhood team.
I love
How many tickets you got to get this weekend?
Ooh, I'm tallying them up.
Okay, I got you. Alex Magoo, I need your 2. Okay, Emmanuel Wilson, I'm going to need your 2. Bo, you got anybody coming? Bo Melton, I'm going to need your 2. I'm just going to start counting down the guys and stacking those things up for you. Well, I hope your mom will be attending. She attends every game, and I'm sure she's had a heck of a ride here these last 3 games. As you head into Dallas, what are you seeing? I know you guys get a jump start when you get to the playoffs. What did you start to take notice about this defense right from the jump?
They're an active group. You know, they have guys at every level. They play well together. They swarm. They play as one. You know, you can't let them get their pass rush started. You gotta give J Love some time to beat him, and I think we'll be fine.
Aaron Jones, one quick one here on the way on out. You mentioned Jordan Love being able to be okay slinging the ball around to a lot of young receivers. Did you see the kind of jump from the Jaden Reeds, Dontavian Wicks, even Bo Melton walking on in here? You guys are finding 6 different dudes to be able to throw the ball to. Was that something you saw in camp was going to be a possibility?
Definitely. You see it day after day. All these guys making plays, from the guys you named to also like Malik Heath, Tucker Craft, Luke Musgrave, Ben Sims. All these guys just continue to make plays day after day, on into when practice is closed and into the season. And you know, when they're making plays, it's like, hey, it's hard to draw up who you're going to double up, or you know, everybody's a valuable option.
Aaron, my last question for you is simple. This offense being so young, not a lot of guys have played in the playoffs. You played a whole bunch in the playoffs and in big time playoff games. What are you doing this week to try and set the curve for these young guys that, hey, this thing steps up, it gets bigger, it gets faster, it gets more detailed? What are you doing to lead these younger guys as we roll into this playoff game?
You know, just have a conversation, but don't put too much emphasis on it. We've been in the last 2 weeks, we've been in that playoff mode where it was pretty much win and get in, or, you know, if not, we wouldn't be in this conversation. But you know, my guys, they're young, but they're ready, and we always emphasize that you're here for a reason. At some point, we're going to need you, and you know, all of them have stepped up, and they rise to the occasion, and you see every game, and especially the last couple ones, they've risen to the occasion.
Aaron, good luck this weekend, man. Safe travels on down there. Good luck getting, 300-400 tickets for this playoff game for everybody coming on up from El Paso. And we appreciate it, man. Good luck this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's Aaron Jones, Showtime 33, 100 yards, 100 yards, 100 yards. No Packer had done that since 2006, three
That's
straight
crazy.
games. And John, you mentioned in that spot, they're not here if it's not for those 3 straight 100-yard games from Aaron Jones picking up this offense.
No, all the exceptional play on the offensive side. And yet, to me, the big X factor has been Showtime coming back, not just Aaron Jones. It's been Showtime. That's a Wayne Larrivee tag, by the way.
It
is.
I'm going to pass that credit just like a live sportsbook. You got to do that from time to time. Give the credit where credit's due. Wayne Larrivee dubbed that one. Showtime is back, baby. And he's back in a big way. And I really hope he gets that playoff captaincy on his chest.
He should,
week. He definitely should.
Yeah, I think 10 and 33 in that backfield probably need that C right there on the chest. Thanks to Miller Lite, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, and Rogers Behavioral Health for bringing us Aaron Jones here today ahead of Packers and Cowboys in the playoffs. We're back right after this. It's 9 to noon on the game.
And you know that I'm famous.
Talking text line, doing some good, robust business here quickly on 9 to noon. Hour number 1 featured Showtime 33, Aaron Jones, and that's where Deviation Don on the Talking text line said, ask Showtime if he thinks he'll be back next year. We need him back. All right, Deviation Don, I like where your head's at. Not going to ask him that specifically. Not before the game. We'll do that in the offseason.
We can ask him as soon as he comes on for his first after the season show. We're not going to do that. Right before the biggest game of the year.
He knows that.
And by the way,
he knows
a lot of people were asking Harbaugh, if you win the national championship, are you gone? So I want to know, if you guys don't beat Dallas, are you gone? Like, no, we're not doing that. That's the Deviation Don. No, I promise I'll get it in as soon as we get into the offseason.
Yes. And Don knows that. I know he knows that. But it's like, I'm sure, listen, I'm not speaking for anybody. I know everybody, we want Aaron Jones back. I'm sure he loves being a Packer. Why wouldn't he want to be back?
He clearly does.
But
He took a pay cut to stay one this year.
Right. So business has to work out. We know how that works. Also, you guys know the way I feel about running backs in general, although I have noted that Aaron Jones is an exception.
I can't stand Armin with his running back takes.
He's an
Get
exception.
away from me with that.
He's absolutely an exception. So I absolutely want him back.
You know, they say give him an inch, they take a mile. My reservation on this is the Packers are going to try and take more from Aaron Jones again this offseason. They're going to ask him to take another haircut. They're going to use the injuries as a reference.
Yeah.
As the agent's going to say, well, look at the last 3 games as a reference when he's healthy. He's, give him a break here. He had an unfortunate hamstring, scoring a touchdown against your rival in the first game of the season.
I don't know if
took an MCL because he took a hit to the side. I
don't know if you heard that though. I did say, make sure you slide that nugget to your agent. Hey, the first running back in the Packers since 2006, 3 straight 100-yard games, most important time. Might be your most important offensive player.
I don't know. They're going to use your loyalty against you here,
But it's the last year of his contract. He took a hit last year. He helped you out cap-wise. Don't do it to him this year. Just, Aaron, we want you back for this last year of your contract. Let's make it the best one yet.
There you go. Do that.
Thank you.
Do that.
Just make it the best one yet. You boys, you're in there until you figure out how to make those numbers work. I don't need to know exactly how it all works out.
You just know he's a loyal guy, and they'll probably be like, you really want to be a Packer.
Oh, yeah. They're going to try to go back and get a little more.
I can empathize with him a little bit. Trying to be a team player, all that stuff, Yeah, it's just.
Well, listen, you want to be back, and you want to be on the team that you are a leader for. He is a leader as the Packers will head down into Dallas. And I loved your question to him, John, of what are you saying to the guys? What are you potentially given throughout the week? Can you imagine him and Preston Smith, 2 guys that have actually played in the playoffs before, played big playoff games? They're going to be voices on that offense and defensive side going into this week.
I understand what he wants to do. This team is young enough, and they're kind of got the right type of cockiness and confidence that you don't want to make this too big for them. You don't want to scare them or surprise them. But I would be saying, hey, we need to focus more in practice. This is when we put an extra focus on practice and we spend an extra hour at the building. We don't need to be ducking out of here 30 minutes after our last meeting. We should stay in here another hour. We should watch film together for another hour. And then we should treat our bodies. I mean, that's what you do when it's playoff time. You got to lock in just a little bit more to make the game slow down because it does get faster.
That was one of those Mike Holmgrenisms that you always loved. I know you're giving your all. I just need a little bit more this week.
Yeah.
Just need a little bit more this week. And each week you just need a little bit more. Leroy would always say, well, damn, coach, I'm already giving you 148%. How many more can I find?
Jerry Kramer had a story
just
about
need a little bit more.
Lombardi giving it the big push. It was the next one was the big push.
The big push.
He's like, we've been pushing all year, coach. I got to find that.
You'll find it in a little bit because we got Matt Schneidman coming up here next. And we're going to bring him on with the Washington Fight song as he was the straw that broke the camel's back yesterday. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We would have been able to get a dub if it was just John and I on the Huskies. Matt Schneidman jumped on there, and then it was 34-13 Michigan. We'll discuss it with our Packers insider coming up here next. Matt Schneidman is on 9 to noon right after this.
I'm out of control, hold me.
I hate this song so much. Not saying go blue. All right. That is Hail to the Victors. This is 9 to noon. Courtesy of Palermo's. Go check out your grocery frozen food out. Go grab some Palermo's pizza. They got great new flavors like rising crust, primo thin pies. Flavors their family's business. Go check them out right now, and could help you on a snowy day. Matt Schneidman joins 9 to noon each and every day at 10 o'clock, courtesy of Happy Place Hemp. HappyPlaceHemp.com is the place to go for all your CBD, CBN needs. Delta 8, Delta 9s would have helped you if you were on the Husky side last night. Enjoy the second half of what ended up being a 34-13 victory for the Michigan Wolverines as they win their first solo national championship since the 40s. They split one back in the 90s. Congratulations to Jim Harbaugh and company, and enjoy that 13-game suspension that comes in about 16 months.
It might get
he
vacated.
Is the head coach of the Chargers, maybe the Bears. Matt Schneidman joins us now here on 9 to noon. Matt, one would have been okay. As somebody that I've been told I look like, Meatloaf said 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know, if it's just John and I on the Huskies, maybe it was okay, but you might have been the straw that broke the camel's back yesterday.
Yeah,
Washington money line. We were riding together, man. Come on. Dang
yeah.
it.
If it gets vacated, do I get my money back in 16 months?
That's a
It's a good
great question. That's
a
a
good question.
fantastic, fantastic.
Listen, the thing that pained me most watching that game was
The unit. Oh,
much like the Packers did to the Bears on Sunday. Michigan was begging, pleading Washington to tie that game. There must have been 6 drives where it was like 20-13 or 17-10 when Washington had the ball with a chance to tie the game and just pissed down their leg. I was told Michael Penix was the most accurate quarterback in the country.
Well, when you get pressure up the middle like that, and everywhere for that matter, all over the place, it's hard to sustain. But you're right. It was 20-13. It was like literally 4 or 5 possessions to punt fest. And I'm like, all right, now's your chance. Now's your time.
Dude, I was so fired up when Kalen DeBoer was talking to Molly McGrath going into halftime and said, we're in a great spot. We're down 17-10. We get ball at half. I'm like, you are in a great spot, Kalen. Go get those boys ready to go. First pass, INT game.
There were a couple huge plays. The miss to Roma Dunze when Penix didn't lead him down the middle of the field, threw it outside the numbers, and he turned his own guy around. On the wheel route for the running back on like 3rd and 3 or whatever, he drops it. You know, the interception to start the half, that was great to keep him to only 3, but like the holding on the deep ball to Odunze when it was 20-13, just a night of shooting yourself in the foot. But we move on. We're on to Packers Cowboys.
Oh, I thought you meant like you're on to the next play that you were going to make. Okay.
No.
No, not on to tonight. No, not on to tonight, Armin. Don't worry. If we would have won, maybe we would have kept it rolling.
Sure,
we would have enjoyed something extra in there. Is that the last game Jim Harbaugh coaches at Michigan? Your athletic sources around the NFL poking around here today, trying to keep track on Don Yee where he's calling?
Yeah, I don't have any sources on the matter, but I would think it's like a Michael Strahan sort of thing where he wins the title and leaves on top. Heck, he might have left if he lost because he might have been like, this was my best chance to win it. If I don't, I'm not going to win it here at Michigan. But my guess is just my gut. I think he says, you know what? I did what I came to Michigan to do. Now I'm going to go to the NFL to do what I couldn't do against my brother back in 2012, was it?
Mm-hmm. And the lights went out. One of the most epic Super Bowls of all time to be able to witness that. All right, we chopped it up with Aaron Jones here, Showtime 33. He talked very glowingly and very confidently throughout the year about Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, right? I joked with him, Matt, that he got put into some very uncomfortable situations in the offseason, having to talk about both guys. Mm-hmm. That confidence, he said you could kind of see it somewhat in practice throughout the 3 years. That is a little different than maybe what we've heard, but have you heard of anything else of people throughout the organization, maybe last year, feeling more confident in the development that Jordan took? Or was it just the Eagles game that all of us witnessed on Sunday Night Football where maybe it was an arrival?
Yeah, we didn't ask much about Jordan last year because it wasn't a relevant topic. The Packers were playing with Aaron, and we didn't know at the time that Aaron would be gone this season. So if we knew that Jordan was going to be taking over 100%, it probably would have been more of a topic. We saw a little bit of it on the field. I remember Aaron Jones saying Jordan's best play from that game was that hole shot down the right sideline that he threw to 33 and Aaron Jones dropped it. He was like, if I catch that, that's, people are like, wow. I think it's more of, what we've seen and heard this year going back to last year. I asked Quay Walker about Jordan Love and what it's just been like watching him this season. And Quay said, we saw him making these throws in practice last season, even when, he was the number 2. So these guys have seen it. And I think there's a sense in this Packers locker room of, we told you so, among all the other guys who saw Jordan Love in practice and now are seeing everyone else outside the building, realizing that this kid can play.
Matt LaFleur available to the press yesterday. What did you find out, if anything?
Yeah, really the only newsworthy thing was the Romeo Doubs situation. And obviously, John, you reported on the radio broadcast on Sunday that he was coughing up blood. I believe he initially thought it was maybe a bloody lip. I can't remember if you said that or if that was something that someone else suggested. But Doubs did spend time in the hospital during the game, so that would explain why we didn't see him come back to the sideline. Mm-hmm. But then Matt LaFleur said he was back in the locker room after the game. I didn't see him in the locker room, but at some point he was in there. LaFleur called him day to day, so that'll be one we have to watch this week.
I didn't get admitted that quick. I mean, that's pretty impressive. All those forms you got to fill out.
He's a wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. He's going to cut the line.
I just like the insurance card. They got to make sure the insurance.
Yeah, and I wondered, did they ambulance him there to Webster? Did he go to St. Vincent? Did he just go across the street to Bellin? I mean, it's not a hospital, but they have scans over there. He could have easily have gotten, a CT or an MRI just across the street at Titletown. Well, nobody knows. Just Romeo Doubs just walking in Titletown's Bellin, figuring this thing out.
Shoulder pads on, cleats on, and everything.
I know he gets that was the joke, man. I understand he probably gets fast tracked.
Better question is, do you think that he would get fast tracked for AAA if he was on the side of the road without gas in his car?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would have too if I called the right people, but I didn't. It's a learning experience for everybody.
We got to go through that kind of stuff. Good point.
And by everybody, I mean just me.
I like you putting that onus on yourself, though, Matt. That's good personal development. Yeah, I'm proud of you. That's good work. Yes, attaboy. Attababe.
When you point a finger at someone else, there's 3 pointing back at you.
Unless you point like this. And I always said, if you're going to point at somebody, you point all 4 fingers at the same time. Then they can never say that.
All 5.
Well, you got 4 fingers and a thumb. So if you want to include the thumb as a finger, you go right ahead. Do it like that. But if I point at somebody, it's all 4 fingers. The
thumb is a finger. What do you say? I have 8 fingers? No, you say you have 10 fingers.
Point the thumb forward too. So
is the thumb a finger? The next poll on 9 to noon.
Now,
match
799-197.
Wait, hold on.
That's the healthy place time question. Good work.
It's Packers Cowboys week in the playoffs, and we're putting out poll questions about is the thumb a finger? Come on.
Well, no, we actually. I'm glad you bring it up. Our actual poll question today is, how many points does Joe Barry need to hold the Cowboys to save his job? First answer, just win, baby. Second answer, 0 to 10. Third answer, 10 to 20 with the win. Last answer, no, just no. Do you want to guess where this thing is trending?
I'm guessing it's trending toward no, just no. And I don't know. I don't think, and I don't know if this is like a deciding game. I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to put it on this one game to say, oh, Joe Barry keeps his job. I think it's more a fluid situation. Like, they go on a run. Maybe he has a chance. Does Matt LaFleur already have his mind made up? It's one of the interesting situations regarding this team is if he can keep this hot streak going, does it matter if they win? Like, do the Packers need to win and the defense plays well? Does it matter if they lose and the defense,
and how they look?
It's all up in the air.
It also depends, I think, how if you lose in a colossal fashion because of a certain plays can be fireable, right?
But there is some onus to be put out there that Joe Barry's defense has gone on a couple runs this year. It really has, and
they're top 10.
The loss to Vegas, the loss to Denver, the loss to Minnesota. I mean, it's not like they were getting crushed in those games score wise. They were holding those teams to some points, and at the end of the season when they had to have it, he had one terrible stretch, and that was the Giants, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers. Mm-hmm. And since then, I mean, I'm not talking about one game. I'm talking Minnesota Vikings 10 points, Chicago Bears 9 points. If they pitch 9 points to the Dallas Cowboys and win this football game, what are you saying, Matt Schneidman?
If they pitch 9 points to the Dallas Cowboys and win this football game, I think the public perception is going to start to shift toward Joe Barry. But then they have to go to Santa Clara and face the 49ers. And that could get ugly. But I think here's my definitive statement.
Because 60% of this poll, you were right. No, just no is 42%. But that means
I'm not surprised.
That means that 58% of this group says, no, Joe has a chance to make a reprieve here and earn his job.
If the Packers
going into next year.
This is just a guess, strictly a guess. If the Packers beat the Cowboys and 49ers and the defense plays well in both games, it doesn't have to be a shutout. If the defense plays well in both games, I think Joe Barry keeps his job. Now,
just less points?
Less than 30, give him a chance to win.
I think that's the problem. If it's not like a 28 plus point shootout, if the Packers win like 27-24, or maybe get a key takeaway or a key sack.
Force Brock Purdy to throw the ball 10 times at least.
Right. Yeah. Don't get trampled by the running game. That's a big task, asking you to beat the Cowboys and 49ers on their fields. But that's the corner Joe Barry has backed himself into. I could be wrong, but that's just my guess.
Because I keep thinking, and John, you brought up yesterday, and it's true. I mean, this is still now a top 10 scoring defense. Take it for what it's worth. There's flaws in all these stats, but it's a Jekyll and Hyde defense. And on the days it looks bad, everyone gets frustrated. But on the days it looks good, you just don't hear much about it. It just is, right?
But the biggest kind of thing that doesn't make sense is normally teams that are top 10 in points, and I believe they're 17 in yards, right? Do I have that correct? Yeah, they're 17th in yards. So they're average as a defense as far as yardage goes, but they're 10th in points. Normally for a team to do that, you need to take the ball away. They have not taken the ball away this year. They only have 18 takeaways. Their turnover differential is 0. Their turnover differential is 0 this year, and they are still – I mean, that doesn't really make sense, does it, Matt?
No, but Joe Barry's defense over the past 3 years has kind of been that bend but don't break defense, like it was on the opening drive against the Bears. They just marched down the field with ease, but then there's either a holding penalty or a sack or just a stop, and they hold them to the field goal. It's what won them the game against the Chiefs. And guess what? That would probably win them a game against the Cowboys. If you hold a team, against the Bears, you can say even a field goal, not great. But if you hold a team like the Chiefs, like the Cowboys, to 3 points when they're in the red zone or you're just outside it after marching down the field, I think that's a win. So that bend but don't break Joe Barry defense that probably explains some of those, discrepancies might give them a good chance to win this game on Sunday.
I want to go to social media for this one, Matt, because old coworker of mine, Mike Wickett, was getting into it with Armin's favorite guy, Richard Sherman, earlier on today on Twitter. And Sherman was answering.
Richard Sherman, the former football player?
Yep, the former All-Pro cornerback and Super Bowl champion.
The accountant.
So he was getting into it with just
there's got to be somebody in Congress.
Random guy on Twitter.
No, it was the real Richard Sherman.
The real Richard Sherman.
That was a joke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, the host of the podcast that Armin is a big fan of, the Richard Sherman podcast. So Richard Sherman had apparently said that the Packers were somewhat welcoming to mediocrity. And the question was, can you please comment on whether or not this is mediocre? And lists the accomplishments, 4,000 plus passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 18-1 since week 11 or 12. And Richard Sherman said mediocrity is a fan base celebrating a 7th wildcard spot as an arrival. So again, welcome. Future bright, no question. The point I made is the truth. Aaron had that division in a chokehold and had Green Bay in the title game almost every other year. 4 MVPs, Jordan off to an incredible start. But if they have to choose whether they play against him or Aaron, they would choose 10 out of 10 times him. Right now, granted, it's difficult because Aaron missed the entire season with torn Achilles. The numbers this year, more impressive than what we had a year ago from Aaron Rodgers. I know it's difficult to even quantify this because you haven't seen him play for a whole year. I don't know that it's so unanimous that nobody would want to see the way Jordan Love is playing him go into Dallas right now. Am I crazy in that statement?
No, I don't think you are. I think something that people are catching on to right now and liking about Jordan Love is that, he's spreading the ball around. How many times did we see Aaron Rodgers, and rightfully so at times, force the ball to Devontae Adams. Matt LaFleur said yesterday, forcing the ball to a guy like that sometimes has its perks, but it also can have its drawbacks. So the fact that the Packers don't have that bona fide number one superstar receiver has helped them a little bit. So in that respect, I don't think it's just, you wouldn't want to face Jordan Love. I think it's you wouldn't want to face this passing game because they have a guy like Bo Melton who is getting 5.
Bo's the name he throws out there, baby.
I'm taking a bottom of the depth chart guy who wouldn't have seen a target with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
maybe
but
one or two. But
so that is really interesting when you consider the fact that the Packers were 7-0 when Devontae Adams missed games in the Matt LaFleur era. 7-0.
Well,
maybe Aaron being forced to spread it around.
Juwan Winfrey
actually made something happen.
He made Juwan Winfrey a star.
Can we also get over the notion that a first-round drafted wide receiver really matters?
If people didn't get over that 5 years ago, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, it's obvious based on watching the last 20 years of the Packers, based on who they've drafted, that they don't need one in the first round.
I agree.
Reed and Wicks are the latest examples.
I agree with that. I'd still like Jefferson and some special players, but you don't need them to win necessarily. I totally agree with that. I also think it's fair to say that receiving core this year is better than last year's. I don't think anyone in the right mind would disagree with that. I think Aaron could find Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and even Malik. That's just the reality of it. I mean, these guys were all upgrades over basically Lazard and Cobb, and it is what it is. I love Randall Cobb, but Jaden Reed is better right now than Randall Cobb. So I don't know why we always have to go to the Aaron. People, a lot of fans cannot just enjoy what they've got now without finding a way to make it about Aaron not doing it or ripping on Aaron for something. It's like we can have room in our heart for multiple heroes, can't we? That's just the way it just frustrates me a bit. I have to say that because I didn't see any of the Richard Sherman takes because I'm blocked by him. Apparently,
that's true. Armin is blocked by Richard.
You're blocked by him.
I don't know, but I'm in his head.
The Mount Rushmore for Armin hate list is clearly Draymond Green, Richard Sherman, Tom Brady, and whoever waves a towel on the Bucks bench. That's the Mount Rushmore for Armin hate.
Wait, so Billy, I thought you were being serious. So Armin doesn't actually like Richard Sherman.
Hates him.
I just find him annoying sometimes. I mean, I don't really say hate's a strong word.
I'm a podcast guy, Matt. So I'll have podcasts rolling in the back, and Armin just cannot fathom the fact that I'd be listening. Why would you even care what Richard Sherman said? I'm like, I don't know. He played in the NFL for a little while. I'll listen to his stuff. I'll hear what it is.
Podcasts now on Spotify and the iHeart app. Latest brick in the stick, which we get into some interesting topics.
There you go.
Good stuff.
How puckered up is John's former coach this week? I thought John had an interesting answer. Could a Packers win mean the Packers make Mike McCarthy unemployed for a second time? One of us picked the Packers to win. We get into a lot. Give it a listen.
Can't wait to hear that. Now, that is a podcast worth listening to, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm not saying all are, I think some, the good ones are good. Like I said, I have no idea. Richard Sherman blocked me. I have no idea why, but I'm going to listen to Brick in the Stick.
I asked, John told us which Packers team this year's team most reminds him of. Yeah, there you go.
We'll try and guess before I listen what John would say. But I'm not going to guess it on here. I'm just going to think about
it.
it.
You're going to think about it.
It was a team that made the playoffs, Armin.
Okay. Can I ask one final?
Well, really, 2008 was the only one we did.
I'm going to ask one final question here from the
text
text line.
2008, even though that was Aaron's first year.
That was a good year, though, too. It was fun. No, don't worry about it. This one comes from, John, this is actually, I should ask you. OG Nooner, George and Rapids asked you a question, but I'm going to ask the whole table if you don't mind. He said, John, can you explain the hierarchy of the decision to fire Joe Barry? Is it Matt's call? Can Brian trump it or force it either way? Wouldn't Mark Murphy also potentially have an opportunity to get in there? Because don't both of them still report here of the triangle hierarchy?
It's the oligarchy.
Yes.
And Russ Ball's in the oligarchy too. But
that's right. There's another one in here. Yes.
So go ahead, Matt. I'll let you go first.
I would think it's just a Matt LaFleur decision. I'm sure Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy offer their voice, but I think at the end of the day, firing a defensive coordinator would be the final decision of the head coach.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it is I think it starts with Matt, and it's the final decision of the head coach, but could be trumped if it's not.
If it's not the one they like.
If it's not unanimous, when this thing starts getting this triangle, this pyramid type thing, when all the information starts circling around in that thing, I almost feel like they start doing anonymous, I'm gonna write it down on a piece of paper.
3 guys in the hat.
We're all gonna stick it in a hat, and it's gonna be a yes or no thing, and then we're gonna burn it at the end. And if it's white smoke, he stays. If it's black smoke, he gone. I almost feel like it's like that, like they're picking the Pope.
Like the secret ballot Mike Holmgren had with his coaching staff in '94. They should keep Favre as the starter or put Mark Brunell as the starter.
Didn't it come up as Brunell, and then he said, no, I'm starting
10-3
Favre.
Brunell, and he decided, I'm going to ride or die with Brett. This is my decision in the end, and I'm tied to him. And then Brett took off kind of from there. Wow, I love that story. Man.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But it could be like that, John, where their vote is there, but one person still has the ultimate call. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like when a lot of people wanted Aaron Rodgers to go in the second half of that NFC Championship game in 2007. The white smoke. You got to get the dark. You got to get the black smoke. I think I got that backwards. Maybe it's the white smoke.
Well, I'll have to ask my Catholic friends. Yeah. What the white? I think is it the white smoke?
Do you know that? I know you go to church. You're not going today. It's too much snow on the ground. You're not going to Tuesday mass.
There's no snow on the ground. It's raining.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's snowing by you. It's snowing by me.
We're going to talk about
Matt. These kids get snow days for rain and like kind of cold. What was this the deal in Connecticut where if it had to have been at least a foot for us to have school canceled, right?
Oh yeah.
Instead, these kids got to go.
Get out of here! Snow's a lot. Listen, snow's a lot different on the East Coast because they don't have flat, straight roads. Every road is winding. It looks like an hourglass kind, and it's up and down hills, and roads are never flat; they're sideways. We got school canceled quite a bit.
Man, I'm telling you, these kids get school off way more than we ever did before. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Great work here today. Take it in, shower up, enjoy your snow day or rain day, and looking outside and day off.
I'm going out to run errands and go food shopping because the roads are totally fine.
Hey, good work.
I hope you got 4-wheel drive.
I don't. I have 4 wheels that drive though.
You have gas in it?
AAA, get ready for.
There we go. We're all good. He's got
AAA
gas in
Dante, we're gonna need you. APP Matt Schneidman up in Green Bay.
There he goes, Matt Schneidman out of here. Courtesy of The Athletic. You always want to be able to go and like and subscribe to all his content there and listen to the Matt Schneidman Show coming up here tonight at 6. As always, thanks to Happy Place Hemp for putting it on. Promo code RELAX, RELAX, for all your hemp needs over there at happyplacehemp.com. We're going to take a time out. So you're telling me that I'm full of it here with this snow day deal. Because there is no way, John, when Armin and I were going to school, walking both ways uphill.
That's right.
That they were canceling school for this little bit of snow that we have on out here today. Your girls got a snow day, right? Everyone off?
Yeah. The big wet spot. The big wet spot predicted 6 to 8 inches throughout the day today. Now, we might fall on the very, very low end of that. Might only get 3, but that prediction, hey, you gotta go with the pundits.
6 to 8. I mean, we used to not even get out of bed for less than 9 inches.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. This is not an anti-meteorologist take.
It's a good drop.
It's just
no. We love the Weather Channel. We love Mark Bain.
It's just I used to get my snowsuit on. You know what I mean? My snowsuit.
Kidding me?
With the teal.
I had my bibs on.
The teal one. Or,
listen, because I was a pear-shaped youth, I used to have those snow pants that didn't have the bibs because sometimes they didn't have them for us husky kids. So you just had to have the ones that were just like regular pants that just went there with a bib.
Let's let this thing play itself out. This is only the first quarter.
All right.
We're down right now about 14-3. We'll see if we battle back unlike Washington. And if about 3 p.m. when it's time to pick kids up, if we're sitting around 5-6 inches, it was a great call. Goodness gracious.
Otherwise, it'll be 2 inches, and we'll be sitting here saying, "That's it. That's all we get."
Don't jump the gun yet. Maybe we don't come back and it's only 2 inches, and we're like, well, we should have showed up to this game.
9 to noon's back right after this on the game.
It's for sure.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. And I mean that by replacing drafty windows and doors, you can dramatically lower the energy costs in your home. If you're like me, you like coming home, getting out of your car, and walking into a nice, toasty home. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offer some of the most energy-efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep that cold outside, right where it belongs. And you can kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest for up to 36 months. You heard that right. No interest, 3 years if you book by January 31st. Now, let me tell you about these windows. They have premium wood windows and patio doors that feature distinguished craftsmanship with nearly endless possibilities. It's fantastic. Whatever you want, maximum design, flexibility, and dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and a whole lot more. Best part, you can choose traditional or contemporary if you're into that sort of thing. I know your wife is. And start enjoying a warmer home with lower energy bills today. But you got to hurry. To get 0% interest for 36 months, you got to book by the 31st. So visit PelletWI.com and tell them John Kuhn sent you. Certain restrictions apply.
It's 9 to noon on the game. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Aaron Jones and Matt Schneidman for hopping on the show here so far. Well, Matt Schneidman, contractually obligated, comes on here all the time, every day at 10 o'clock. You can set an appointment to it to know that Matt Schneidman is going to be on the show at 10 o'clock each and every day, thanks to Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. For Aaron Jones, though, listening to his... You can just tell the anticipation, John, is obviously very high to go into this game. But to try and not make it more than necessarily what it can be, what it is to the young players on the team, that last answer that he gave you is still ringing through my head of, you do know, and everybody getting ready for the game this week knows that on Sunday it's going to have a bigger feel to it. But it's the week of preparation where, maybe the dial-in can be emphasized more, and it doesn't necessarily hamper your performance on game day. Does that make sense? Like, if it's thought of more on Sunday, then it could be a detractor. But if you're pumping it up into the preparation and work that you're putting in, Tuesday through Saturday before you get on that plane, I don't know how that's not a good thing to have those leaders be vocal throughout this week.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones is 29, right? So where does he feel as far as desperation for chances to do really great things? And, maybe it's not winning a Super Bowl, but it is upsetting the Cowboys and then going to play out in San Francisco again. And then maybe it would be, it would amp up a bit even more. And each one of these games, the Packers are going to be underdogs in, unless somehow it turns out that they win too and the Rams win too, and then all of a sudden there's a pick'em game at the NFC Championship game. But all of these games, they're going to be underdogs, and they're probably going to be significant underdogs. So to do something special is not always just to win the Super Bowl. To do something special for this football team was to make the playoffs. Well, they did that. What special can they do now to make us remember the 2023 version of the Green Bay Packers? We'll remember that they made the playoffs in Jordan Love's first year. But now the next really special thing would be to go to Dallas and beat Dallas. And when you start thinking towards the end of your career, and I know this happened for me a lot, what can we do that's special? And how do I implore on my teammates that this is probably it for me? This is getting really close to the end here, and I don't want it to be about me. So how do I make it about them and what they can do, and how special this would be for all of us if we can somehow find a way to make a run or win a game here? And for this Packers team, you go down there and you beat Dallas in Dallas. Boy, people are going to talk about this team and the special and the fun that they had watching this team for a long, long time. And Aaron Jones is 29, and we're talking about if he's going to be in Green Bay next year. So I mean, that's the natural question to me is, what are you doing to urge these guys? Because for you, it matters, but for everybody, it does as well. And how do you put that on them that, hey, it matters for all of us, but man, it's my last chance to really tell you guys about it, or one of the last chances. Yeah.
And maybe they don't know how much it matters yet. Like, it's easy to have that perspective when you get older, right? It's like anything else, but as a young player, you might think, yeah, this is great. We did a great job, but we'll have plenty of opportunities down the road. It's that excitement that of youth in general. But when you are a veteran, you're like, these guys, these things are special. They don't come around. You have to appreciate each one. So how do you convince them or emphasize that? That is part of that, I think, John, what you're talking about. If you're talking about like, and this might sound like a defeatist attitude, but I don't think it is, because there's those that say, like, obviously Super Bowl or bust. The ultimate goal is to win a championship, and anything else isn't reaching that. And I get that, trust me, because no matter how good a season feels in retrospect, if you don't win it all, you're never happy about losing that last game. But there is something to be said for winning as many games as you can, even if you can't win it, make it all the way. Some people will always frustrated say, I wish we'd never even make it then if we can't win the Super Bowl. Well, I never believed in that, right? Because each stage you pass, each game you win is an accomplishment. Whether or not it's the ultimate accomplishment, it's still an accomplishment. It's still a memory. It's still a moment, right?
Well, okay, so the two Super Bowls that I was a part of, we were the 6th seed in both of them. And, it's very similar to this. Each and every week we were trying to do something that no team had done before as a 6th seed. We were trying to beat, we were trying to win our first game and go, and then beat a 1 seed. And then after we beat that 1 seed, we were trying to be the first team to go to a Super Bowl. And then we were going to try and be the first 6th seed to win the Super Bowl. And then with the Packers, we were trying to do the exact same thing. And it's like, hey, I've seen this happen before. It isn't easy, but it's special, and it's almost more of a rewarding feeling doing it as the 6 seed than coming in here as a 1 or a 2 and getting a bye and doing it that way. And there's going to be a team one of these years that's going to win it as a 7 seed. And I would be saying right now, why not us?
Why not us?
Why would we not be that first 7 seed to make a giant run? Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. But you can, and the odds are that it's not going to happen. Let's just be honest. The odds are that it's not going to happen. But that would be my message for everybody. Why not us? Why can't we be the first 7 seed to make a run to a Super Bowl and win it?
Who were some of those guys on those teams that you can remember that would be able to give that impassioned speech? Obviously, your 05 team was Jerome, right? That was the bus, right? But who were some other guys throughout it?
But the message from Jerome was like, yeah, this is my last year. This is my last hurrah. We'll go as far as the team takes us.
Sure.
Right? And let's go to Detroit. That's where I grew up. That's where I'm from. So that was kind of his message. But I can remember as soon as we made it as a 6 seed, the guys right away said, well, this is fantastic because we have an opportunity to max out our money in the playoffs. For people that don't know, the majority of your team, especially the Green Bay Packer team, they're not on second contracts. So they're making vet minimum. And back then you could make a third of your contract in the playoffs. You could, in 4 games, you could make a third of your contract in addition to your contract in the playoffs by doing it. So we had a thing written on the board every week. Hey, this week's for this much money. The next week it jumped up. This week's for this much money. And they just stacked them underneath themselves until we made it to the Super Bowl. And then it was like, hey, we win this thing. We had just made a third of our contract right back. Bing, bang, boom, right here, just by doing what we said we wanted to do and win the Super Bowl. And even back then, it might have even been more than a third. It might have been closer to a half of your salary for guys that were on minimum wage contracts.
That's awesome. Great incentive for the young guys, though, too, like you said. I mean, fellas.
Ton of incentive. And young guys don't realize that. They're just like, man, I got to play another week. Holy cow, they're getting this out of me and whatever. So we had influences that way. And it wasn't until you get to the AFC Championship game and you're like, 6 seeds never made the Super Bowl before. Let's do that. And then we got in. It's all right. 6 seeds never been here. Let's finish the deal. Let's finish this thing. So, and each and every team's a little bit different, and you focus a little bit more each and every week. And some teams focus more, and some teams, are been there, done that. I can't help but think this Packers team, they're going to stick to what they've done. They're going to lock in. They're going to roll like they have throughout the last quarter of this year. But if they could put a little bit more in here, man, I'm not going to say they can't beat the Cowboys. I think they can.
Yeah, I have not really convinced myself that they can absolutely not. I will convince myself by the end of the week that they will go down there and win the game. I think they absolutely can. It's going to be fun.
This is the NFL.
I'm excited for Thursday or Friday, Armin, when I am dead set on them winning this game.
Money line.
This
is the NFL. It could happen. Absolutely could happen.
My early looks at this game is that the Packers have a script that needs to play out for them to win this football game. The Cowboys might not need that script. The Cowboys might be able to win in multiple different ways of this game playing itself out. That's why I would give the edge to the Cowboys in this one. But man, there's a script. And as long as there's a script, anything can happen.
And if you're young, you might as well just follow that script as long as they keep writing it. NFL script writers have been on one so far. So as long as they keep this thing rolling, we could be in some very fun territory and could talking about Santa Clara in a week and a half.
Matt LaFleur should do what Holmgren did in 96.
Pull that playoff bonus out.
Put the bonus on the cash and put them under the blanket and say everyone likes a little spending money.
Everyone likes a little spending money going around. These kids with their NIL money, it's not even nearly the same, right?
They'll take it. I
think everybody will take it and not do like what we would do with it and invest. That's our 11 o'clock hour. We'll talk some investments coming up with You Better You Bet. We got a can't miss. We'll discuss a little bit more of that and some more information flowing through the NFL of coaching hires and fires. We'll give you the latest next on the game.
I'll roll up, I'll roll up, I'll roll up, shorty, I'll roll up, I'll roll up, I'll roll up.
Day and night, I toss and turn. I keep stressing my mind.
9 to noon on the game, so I'm not off base here. Seems like more and more people are agreeing with me on the snow day take. We're getting a little lax and a little light with these snow days. With the threshold for having to cancel school is a little bit different here. A little change from back in the day, like where Jake the electrician said, Billy, I'm with you. This is insane. They're canceling school now before anything even happens. I remember having like 3 snow days in 12 years in public school. Then Matt Milwaukee goes, I love how Billy is talking about kids these days. Guy barely has hair on his chest. He's not wrong. I mean, YouTube audience can see
there's something there. It's not too
Well,
bad.
it's a good point. You were just in high
there.
school.
Yeah.
You were just in high school 10 years ago. Has it changed all that much in 10 years?
It's
I don't
unreal,
know.
dude.
But
Yeah,
I'd
it's
say
true.
I'd say technology has gotten much better. And because of that, we like to think we're smarter than what we are.
Good point.
When technology wasn't great, it was like, hey, we're going to get snow. Right. That was the forecast. We're going to get snow. And it was, how much are you going to get? Well, you're going to get 3 to 24 inches. Son of a gun. I don't know which one it's going to be. We're going to keep school on for this instance. And, you'd roll to school and then all of a sudden start pouring down and you get that announcement. Bing, bing, bing. Hey, we're going to do a half day. So all of you kids going out and getting on your buses, just get ready.
Just talking through it the whole day. Dude, do you think they're going to cancel it after like third period, fourth period?
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Maybe they wouldn't right now. You think we're going to get an early release? You think so? Like, dude, it's really coming down out there. They better cancel this thing. Just talking through it the whole day.
And now you can kind of see, or at least think you can see, how much snow is going to come. And hey, weathermen, they're wrong too.
Yeah. Now, I thought you said when you went with technology, I thought you were leaning more on the fact that, I mean, you can do so much virtual on school anyway now.
Okay.
That maybe you're more apt to cancel school because you can still
you,
force some kids to go home and take their virtual
schooling. Then I am completely driving my kids in there and saying, hey, you can do this virtually in the library.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be doing school.
Yeah,
they're going to be doing school with
computer.
you. I'm not going to be doing it with you.
Well,
you're going into school to do this school.
And there's something to the fact with social media and we're more connected now. So everybody sees everyone else canceling school and they feel like, oh, maybe we should, and it kind of works into that frenzy. I'm telling you, there's an aspect to that. Because I'm sorry, this has not been Snowmageddon or Snowtorious BIG or whatever you want to say it. There hasn't been that. And I'm not saying you're saying we should not err on the side of caution and safety first. You guys know me. I'm a safety first guy. But this hasn't been the, Snowtorious BIG.
Snowtorious BIG,
this just hasn't,
right.
and my thing is,
no, I mean, it's like, I can still see over there. The visibility's not wild out here.
We had some cold days before in my years growing up in Greenfield School District. I know we had cold days when it was like -10. It'd be too cold to go to school. Did not have a snow day. I remember my great middle school teacher, Mr. Sheldon, when there was like half the kids one day because it was snowing and cold and they thought they canceled school and they didn't. And we were there and we're like, you think you'll cancel it? If he's like, if it's like this again tomorrow? No, I think it's pretty good. We're having school. He was walking through the lunchroom with whoever wanted to be there that day. Cause on those days they didn't cancel. They were like half the kids out of school, but I love those days because it was always a lax day, Yeah. It was always a run from the grind type day.
I was going because my mom was the secretary, right? So like,
if she knew she wasn't keeping you out.
If she had to go, we had to go, right? Like there's no way that was changing for right here. Now this one's crazy. Unnamed 608. I'm about 20 miles north of La Crosse, had about 5 inches already this morning, and they still had school. What the heck is going on nowadays?
Give them a patch. Give them a patch for that.
They
Give
went in
La Crosse
and
a patch. They get a special patch. We are still the snow killers. We will kill the snow and go to school. We are still dedicated. You get your honorary 9 to noon snow killer patch.
Norm in the 414. My wife's a principal. All changed when schools stopped deciding and gave the call just to the bus companies. Now that sounds like passing the buck over here.
They're always blaming the buses. It's always because the buses can't get around. No, come on.
Brian in West Dallas. I was a kid in the 80s. And we went to school all the time when it snowed. They would only cancel if it was more than like 15 inches. If less, get to the bus stop, help the bus get unstuck so that they could take you to school. Because back then, men were men. Some of us may have been held back a few years, but
if you're a man
like
riding the school bus, you've been held back quite a few years. Okay.
Hey, I walked to school. I didn't have a snow
both ways.
To high school, I walked right down 60th to Greenfield High School. I didn't
How
have
many
an
miles
excuse.
is that?
I actually know it because I've been walking that route for a long time.
How many miles?
It's probably 0.8 miles. It's a little less than 1.
Okay,
0.8 miles, and that's fine. I wasn't afraid to do it, but I couldn't.
More or less cars on the road than today.
Same. It wasn't.
More,
I'm not that
more
old.
or less
I'm not that old.
more or less distractions in today. See, I'm convinced the reason of this is they just don't want kids walking to school anymore. Because kids are so distracted. They'll just walk right out.
Yes.
They'll just walk right out in front of a car while they're tweeting or Instagramming or TikTok and tubing or whatever the heck that they do on their phone. They're worried about that. Kids can't walk to school anymore.
They walk into poles and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it's just different.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I don't know. I didn't mind walking to school, but it was kind of funny that I could never use the bus excuse.
Used to be 6 years old, you kicked them right out the door, and now it's like, hey, you're going outside. Let me come with you at least until you're 10, maybe 13.
All
prom king walking to school. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
I was a man of the people. It didn't bother me. I was one of you guys,
just like all of you.
Well, what do you think? I'm gonna get some special treatment because I was the prom king?
No,
I would have thought somebody would have picked you up.
Actually, your special treatment was getting prom king because they all felt bad for you.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I don't care if they call me last. I got the call. Say, I got the crown. And it's still at my parents' house.
414-799-1973.
Yeah, it's from Bartz's. The party store.
Mom still has that crown.
Oh, we got the crown. It's on the mantle still. I think it's still.
Really?
I think so.
Right above the fireplace.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still on the. Yeah, but it might still be on. It might not be on the mantle anymore. But
is the mantle over the
parents?
I was gonna say, is the mantle over the fireplace the shrine to Armin, and then your sister gets like
my sister
the spare bedroom?
No, both of us. No,
she gets the end table.
You kidding me? She's much more accomplished.
What are you talking about?
Well, I appreciate it.
You're prom king.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're one of the people.
I was
Armin's prom king crown and his Marquette diploma side by side above the fireplace at the Leon Sarian household.
Yep. And that Olive Garden gift card for working 10 years at iHeart.
Hey, I love Olive Garden. I don't care what anybody says. I will fight anybody on there.
When you use that thing, are you going to ask to keep the
card?
Cashed out card?
Yeah. Do you mind if I keep this? It's just a memento for me.
Well, they always ask you if you want it, and then maybe you'll leave a tip. 414-799-1973. We got some people wanting to weigh in on the snow days. We'll get to that. We'll also talk a little bit of investing here. Hour number 3 and 9 to noon right after this.
My wrist, $1 billion look, $1 million kiss. I'm nationwide, homie. You still at home, homie, with no promotions on. Louisiana. Murder on the beat. Louisiana. Murder on the beat. Something for y'all to cut up to, you know? Yeah. Everybody get your roll on. I know shorty and she doesn't want no slow song. Had a man last year, life goes on.
It's 9 to noon on the game inside the Iron Jock Studios, ironjoc.com. Now through January 21st, Iron Jock says, let's go. When you buy $50 or more of Iron Jock Performance Apparel, take 25% off everything in your cart with promo code FITNESS20. You're also going to get a free Iron Jock script baseball cap. It'll automatically be entered and added to your cart. And you get to choose which version of the cap you want. Go to ironjock.com for more details. That's ironjoc.com.
All right. They got some colors, new colors out there.
I'm guessing so.
Looking
I'm going to say
good.
whichever one you're trying to grab.
I'm checking it out right
you
now.
Get those options. I got options. But you could pass that part of the conversation. Or, you know what? We could just do exactly what we want to do and continue laying into the talk and text line because there's more and more people saying the exact same thing. So Chris in Jackson has it right here, guys. I grew up in the UP in the 80s. Not only did we not have snow days, we would also play King of the Hill on snow piles 2 or 3 stories high.
Yes.
During school, man, we used to
3 stories.
We would try to so there was a snow hill over at St. Mary.
But in the UP, men are men, Armin.
Yeah,
they go
a little
through
different
puberty.
over here.
These kids in the UP, these kids in the UP have underarm hair at 8. Right? They're shoveling snow.
I get
they're
it.
shoveling snow at 6. And they're driving cars at 13, right? It's a different vibe up in the UP.
Do you know how high 3 stories is, though? Let's just think about that for a second.
I don't know how high that is.
I don't think they're playing
with 30 feet.
Piles 3 stories high. I get the point. It's fun. It's all that. Yeah, but all right. We did used to play King of the Hill, but that was great.
Great game.
Oh, great.
But this the UP.
Great
you
game.
can't compare the UP with the rest of Wisconsin. You just can't do
No, I'm not.
They're different up there.
That's fine.
They're snowmen.
Oh, even our folks in Rhinelander. Are you kidding me? Sports talk that rocks the North Woods.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like
who's tougher? Who's tougher? We just heard from Lacrosse. Now we heard from UP. Who's tougher? Rhinelander, Lacrosse, UP. Who are you taking in a snow fight?
I'm gonna go option D, and I'm gonna take our friends from the UP, from the Twin Ports.
Yeah,
and Duluth
7-10
Superior.
game up there.
You think that it's cold in the UP? You think that it gets tough over there?
Go to
you
Superior.
head on up to Duluth and
That's a
tell
good
me
point.
that cold's not different. That thing slaps you in the face and then laughs in your face and then bites you.
That's a good point. Duluth is sitting up there, and they're saying right now, we don't need to say anything because we
Hold our
know
beer.
we're the best.
Yep.
We don't need everybody down there talking about how big and how burly they are in the winter and everywhere that they walk and all the games that they play, and no school ever canceled for us. Lacrosse, Rhinelander, UP. That's all right. We're up here. We're just the snowmen champion up here in Duluth. We don't need to talk about how big and manly we are.
We just be about it. We don't talk about it, right?
Yeah, they're just
be
about it. I mean, somebody's
Yeah.
saying they get like 200 inches of snow every year. Or certain
They probably
areas in
don't
the UP.
even-
I bet they
They
close,
probably don't even wear snow gear. And
No.
they're just out there chilling.
shoveling in shorts.
Yeah.
Well, Hunter worked there in that neck of the woods for a while. Hunter was up there in Tomahawk, and I don't think I'm one-on-one 3 of the game. They're running from any grinds up there.
No,
I don't
no
see
chance.
Hunter as a snow guy, though. I don't see him as the king of the north.
Maybe not, but I see Hunter as the guy that grinds it out no matter what. I mean, he's not gonna. There's not gonna be one situation in which he doesn't think he can go get into work and get it done.
grinding, but he's grinding to get into work and do something in the radio business.
That's what I'm saying. That's
He's
what I'm
not
saying.
grinding as in go and shovel or go and get himself, plow out the parking lot.
Are you taking
over at the
Hunter
radio
versus the
station.
White Walkers, Armin?
I'm not gonna sell my man HB4 short in anything. He might not be, Aaron Snowblower of the year type of guy. I don't know. He might not.
How
be,
about this? You taking yourself or Hunter?
In what situation?
In being able to dig yourself on out of a situation that you'd find yourself in the North Woods.
Well, we'd work
My
together.
man, Bricky is saying right now, you can't work together. There's no teaming up in a competition against each other.
I'm taking myself.
Bricky
Oh,
said,
come on.
Armin, I lived in Minocqua for over 5 years. The snow up there, no joke. Snow piles as high as your house. You got to dig yourself on out of one of those snow piles.
Okay,
You taking
fine.
yourself or you taking Hunter?
I'm never gonna bet against myself. I'm betting on myself here. So I'm
We're
doing
gonna
that.
have a snow blow off.
Yeah.
Well, I used to snow blow. I mean, I would do it at my parents' house. I was my chore
We're
to
gonna bring
do.
2 snow blowers into the megaplex and have
Yes.
you guys each blow
By the way,
3 parking spaces, and the first one to get done is the champion.
did you
I
have
love that idea.
Did you use yours yet? Billy? Not for this,
No,
right?
dude, because I was all excited. I woke up early this morning, set an alarm for like 5:30, ready to get myself on out there, fire up the errands. I put gas in it yesterday. Very bad situation. By the way, I got one of the dumbest gas tanks of all time. I don't know if anybody's seen this thing.
Uh-oh.
You got to pull the nozzle down and hold it because otherwise it locks in place. So I'm sitting out there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to pour gas into the tank.
That's every plastic gas can now, unless you have an old school metal can. That's what they do now, Billy. That's to protect your young kid from going out there and pouring it all over himself.
We can't just have a normal nozzle. We can't just have one where you just pour it out and stuff comes out. I got to have some kind of dummy
because
lock
somebody's
system for it.
somebody's kid would go out there and drink it or pour it all over themselves, and then they'd get sued.
Well, here's
That's
the
how it
problem. This
works.
29-year-old kid couldn't figure it out. I had to go to YouTube, try to
Don't doubt it.
Tough nut.
work it out. Dude, it was rough. Called Pops because I'm like, Dad, what on earth am I doing
What am
with
I
this
doing
thing?
wrong?
He goes, why don't you not just go to YouTube and figure it out? I'm like, that's
He
bad.
said that? That's funny.
When the 67-year-old is telling the 29-year-old to go to YouTube and figure it out,
That's hilarious.
Billy,
we know we're in an issue.
Son, I don't have time for this mess.
No.
If you don't know how to use a gas can, YouTube it. Figure it out.
Look
I
it
don't
up.
have time to be on this phone trying to walk you through this thing.
Yeah, he's like, I have no time for this nonsense. So I figured it on out, but
He
got
tells you
gassed
to
up
go
and
to
ready to
YouTube.
go.
He tells you to go to YouTube. In the meantime, you go, all right, well, just FaceTime and take a look at this. I don't know how to do FaceTime.
Best part is I FaceTimed him and I'm trying to show him. He goes, well, Billy, I can't see it. You have to flip the camera around. I'm like, oh my God, my dad is actually teaching me how to use all of technology here. But I had the thing fired up, ready to roll this morning, and no snow.
No, it's just it was rainy.
It's just
Slushy.
rain.
Yeah.
When it's wet, it's always wet.
Yeah, but it's just slush, Butch. It's not really snow.
He had the wow, what am I trying to say? He was trying to burn his snow last year, wasn't he? Wasn't he trying to go with a flamethrower to try to get rid of the snow?
He had the flamethrower. Yes, I think that he's gonna melt it. You burn it, melt it. You mean you're right.
that ain't working on out here. That ain't going in here. No snowblower, shovel every day, says the barrister. You're not shoveling this stuff. This stuff's gonna be real thick.
You're not shovel water. It's like
You're not
mashed
trying to do
potatoes.
that.
Yeah.
No.
Do you want Mike and Muskego? He kind of has a tip for you for your gas can snowblower issue.
Sure, let me
Let's
hear
just
it. What's up,
get
Mike?
Mike in quick. Yeah.
Hey man, you gotta run over to the local Menards there and just buy the conversion kit. You get the regular pouring spout, and then you just gotta drill a little hole in the back of your can, suck it out with a vacuum while you're drilling it, and there you go. You got the old school gas can. I did it to 3 of mine. Works fantastic.
You drilled a hole.
So you were having the same issue with this is just normal now, as they have these weird.
And now my kids are at high risk for messing around with this
find a regular one anymore. So you just go and buy that thing, and then when you empty your gas can out, or do it before you fill it up.
Well, appreciate
Works
it.
good as new.
There we go, Mike. All right, I appreciate it. You know what? I might just get my hands dirty a little bit and try to
Start
see how
drilling
much.
holes back there. Yeah.
Listen, probably a dangerous spot for me to be using power tools at all in this sense of the word, but I'm excited for it. I'm trying to figure it on out. Chris in West Bend, I'm with Billy. I've spilled more gas with those no spill nozzles than ever before. I'm telling you, dude, it was all over the place. And then I'm smelling like gas for the next 2 hours, but I'm glad that I'm not the only one that was struggling on in here. Just buy a funnel, take the top off, pour it in like I did. Well, that could have maybe worked on it.
I think the atmosphere, it's starting to blow a little more. I think atmosphere hurt us, and it's going to start to. Let's hear it from Neil all the way up from Twin Ports. We got a call from Superior, 7:10 a.m. The game up there. What's up, Neil? How's it going?
Great. How are you guys? Love the show.
We love you, Neil. How are the Twin Ports treating you today?
Hey, I just wanted to tell you, king of the snow, definitely the UP, but we got the cold here. I'll tell you a quick story. I work on the railroad. I'm riding the rail car. We're shoving in. It gets so cold. It's 37 below.
Whoa.
So cold, it makes your eyes water and your eyes freeze shut.
Oh, my gosh.
You have to
don't shut them. Keep them open.
They freeze shut.
Hold on. What did you say you do to the eyelids?
One more time.
I work on the railroad.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer now, but at the time I was a conductor. And we're moving some cars around. I'm riding the rail car, and it was so cold, my eyes were freezing shut on me. That's cold.
So you just hold them bad boys open the whole day. Make sure that they don't close.
Constantly rubbing them to open them up so you can see where you're going. There's no joke.
Neil,
that's a man, right? That's
man's man right
that's
there.
That's a different level of work.
I got
right
a simple
there.
fix for that. Snow
Every
goggles.
day up here.
Ski goggles.
Kid wear
Sounds
goggles.
pretty reasonable to me.
It's so cold, the goggles freeze up. You can't see through them. Tried it. Been there, done that.
Well, Neil, we're proud of you. Thanks
Attaboy,
for
Neil.
dialing us on up, and thanks for listening to us on up there in the Twin Ports. All right,
Love the show, guys. Keep it up.
love you. There you go,
You
Neil.
heard it here. The UP, the Kings of the Snow.
It's snow goggles, not even
Minnesota
working.
Duluth. No, we got the cold. We all about that cold.
Man,
I
that
do
is
like
crazy.
the fact that he owned up to the fact. No, they probably got his beat over there. When we start playing in the cold, that's
Yeah,
when we're talking.
He was
about it.
reasonable about it. He was. I appreciate that. But man, that when you're working on the railroad 30, you can't get a more iconic like salt of the earth job than that.
Oh, no chance.
The railroad in Superior.
I've been working.
Was he
on the
what-
railroad
all
the live long day?
Yeah, man. That's
Oh,
awesome.
no, the second.
I was just thinking,
verse.
dude. I got the first words, and I'm like, I can go that one verse. That's all I got. I got one line for you. We got more than one line for you. We got 4 options for you on our 9 to noon Twitter poll question that right now has crept over 700 votes in just the first hour and a half. How about this one? How many points does Joe Barry's defense need to hold the Dallas Cowboys to on Sunday to save his job? 42.9% now, hovering right there, just over 40%, but 42.9. No, just no. Means you want nothing to do with Joe Barry being the defensive coordinator coming up in 2024. Just win, baby, over the quarter mark, 26.1, 19.8 say a win. Keep it in that 10 to 20 variety. There's 11.5% still holding out with the shutout. B Hintage has this response, though, on the comments section, John and Armin. I got news for you guys. Barry already saved his job. You heard it here first.
Wow. Okay.
Do you think that there's a case to be made that he's already saved the job going into Dallas? I think it's very much still a canvas, John, that the painting is yet to be finished on this 2023 Packers defense and what their decision will be made at the end of the year.
So I used an analogy yesterday on the brick and the stick, and it's in reference to a 2-minute drill. And if you're losing a football game and you need to score, you have a chance if you have time and downs. And that's what I was referring to, Joe Barry having a chance to come back to Green Bay next year, even though his contract is expired after the season, because he's got time and downs. He's got a full game. He's got 60 minutes left to show what he can do against one of the best offenses in National Football League. But conversely, right, you also have time and downs to show you can't do it. And so I don't think the painting is finished in any regard, Billy, because there are time and downs left in this thing, and there's no decision to be made yet. Anything can happen in this Cowboys game and could sway you in either direction.
I like that because also, if you just think of the 2-minute drill, those are what you remember the most of. And as much as all these games are created equal, right? The result in September, Schneidman talks about this all the time. Like, you can't let one good run, one good stretch of games cloud the 3 years of performance or all 17 games. But it's difficult for it not to, right? Like the last taste in your mouth of what the defense looks like and how they perform will inherently usually weigh a little bit more. Like, I think even in 2021, guys, right, there were a lot of people that were frustrated with Joe Barry and the defense all year long, but then you don't give up an offensive touchdown to the 49ers in the playoff game, and it was kind of quiet. Instead, it was quite optimistic about the defense going into 2022 because, John, as much as all the game is going to matter, it is kind of more about how you finish as to that last taste in someone's mouth into fans' regard and memory bank as to, well, that was kind of what you take from the prevailing sentiment of the season, I think.
Yeah, it's fun. You look at our poll yesterday asking about how do you feel about Goody now, and how many people have jumped on we always believed, right, in Goody. And
right.
Not quite what we heard on this show for about 3 or 4 years. And already, I mean, we heard a lot about Joe Barry the last month of the season, and now already 60% of Packer fans, at least that are on this poll, are saying, yeah, we'll like to see what happens in this game. Yeah, there's an opportunity here.
There seems to be more than just an opportunity. If indeed the Packers go on out here and win and look impressive on defense against one of the best offenses in football, there's going to be a very big case to be made. Ken in the Falls, Joe Barry is not getting fired. He's LaFleur's guy. Enough with this nonsense about firing Joe Barry. How about the players need to execute the defense a little bit better?
Well, they are top 10 in scoring defense. I know we don't like to talk about those facts sometimes, but they're facts, right?
But I think that's a good point. Right. In some of those games when they didn't have good performances, there was a lot of breakdowns. There was a lot of MAs. And that's when we had the discussions. Well, is the scheme too difficult for the players to achieve, or are the players not actually achieving something that they can? Are they not, executing simple things that Joe Barry and his defense, as far as coaching staff, are giving them to do on the field? And if they can't achieve those simple things, then maybe it is on the players.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like you see throughout the game, at least early on, you saw them trying to dial up as much more blitz packages as possible. But if the linebacker who is blitzing is unable to get through a good blitz pickup by the running back in the backfield, it's not going to look as effective. And that's, to me, seems like pure execution. And maybe there is more to that than we have gotten into throughout the entirety of the 2023. The 2023 college football season wrapped up, and Coons Can't Miss was centered right around that. Let's get to it now.
The man can't miss. Time now for Coons Can't Miss. Presented by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet big, bet bull.
Yeah, don't worry, Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. They don't close because of a little bit of snow. If you can find your way down there, if the roads aren't too bad, make your way in on the second and third level. Just off the Skywalk is where you'll find the kiosk. That's where you can place a bet if you don't feel like staying. But hey, nothing else going on outside today with all this snow, so you might as well make your way down to the northwest end of the first floor. That's the old temporary sports book with the old fire pit sports bar and grill. 30 big screens, a full bar with food and beverage service, and plenty of seating. It's a place to go to watch a game. All right. Yesterday, there was a lot of people down there for this national championship game. I said it at the beginning of the show. I knew I was in trouble when Matt Schneidman decided to flip his pick. If we got 3 in a row, we got 3 in a no. Me, Billy, Schneidman, done. Washington +5, not even close. And I knew it wasn't going to hit the minute Michigan ran for their second touchdown and Washington couldn't get a fit in the first half. They seemed to make some adjustments, or maybe Michigan just started to throw. Either way, they couldn't come back. They couldn't make it a game. And even being down 7 for a large portion of that game, I never really felt like this thing was close to hitting. It was an absolute embarrassment. Me picking Washington, should have never done it. Should have picked Michigan, but I picked Washington, which means I lost in what?
Yeah, John, you did lose that one. 103, 78, and 5 is the record. Look, I mean, you can't be hard on yourself. I mean, we all have reasons when we go into these games why we think it'll happen. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. But you got to just get back on the horse and ride.
So a huge mistake made by John Kuhn.
I didn't mean to. No, we didn't. We don't want to talk about that. All right?
I will.
So a huge mistake made by John Kuhn.
Come on, it's a tough one out there. Yeah.
I'll get on this horse. I'll get on the horse today. My horse is college basketball, and I really like this Purdue-Nebraska game. But unfortunately, no prop bets for Zach Edey. That didn't pop up yet. They'll probably pop up this afternoon. So I'm going to roll to a prop bet here with Duke and Pittsburgh. And what I like here is Blake Henson for Pittsburgh over 16.5 points in this ballgame. He's averaging, let me see what he's averaging, a little over that. He's averaging 19.1 points per game. This will be, if he hits his average, we're good. We even got a couple points to go with there. Duke's got a great defense. They're only allowing 66 points per game. So that's the reason why Blake's down a little bit. But I like Blake Henson in this game. Going off, he's got to get over 16.5. I'm going Blake Henson over 16.5 points. Duke's got a good defense, though.
Yeah, Blake Henson. All right, John. I like that. I like the going deeper with the college basketball prop there, trying to mine the surface to look for that hidden gem. It's probably a good way to do it.
As long as your boy out there.
Zach Edey?
No.
Who?
Ken Palm.
I'm thinking Purdue. Sorry.
I got to stay away from Ken Palm. Ken Palm has steered me wrong on multiple occasions.
Well, just the Alcorn State game. And that was because Alcorn State played weird at the end. They didn't foul enough. It wasn't. Don't blame Ken Palm. Do not blame the data. All right.
I'm blaming the data.
So what does Ken Palm say about Blake Henson?
I don't think they have individual. I'm just looking at the game right now.
What does he say about the over-under?
Let me just check this out. No.
Total points.
We're not changing the bet, are we here?
No, we're not. But I just want to know. What's he say about total
All
points?
right. Let me just search it right here. I'll have it for you in a second.
My man Blake Henson, his brother played football at South Carolina. His dad played basketball at UCF. He's on his third school. Was at Ole Miss, then to Iowa State, now to Pitt. Yeah, I got all his albums.
Right now.
Yeah. What are you going to tell
What are you going to tell us?
To tell you right now, we don't care.
We don't care. He stopped for a second. He felt bad. All right, John, to answer your
Made
question.
45 3-pointers in each of his first 2 seasons. Come on now.
Okay.
Huge numbers.
Let me tell you, we don't care.
All right.
Dude, I'm fired up. Blake Hinson is my new guy, dude. I'm number 2.
Ken
Come on now.
Ken Palm in this game, John, predicts a Duke 75-71 win. They're predicting 146 is the total.
Points.
So
that's a lot of points right there.
It's a lot of points.
Blake's going to have to get a bunch of them.
I think you're
That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points
Come on,
because
Blake.
both these defenses average less than 70 points per game, well less than 70 points a game. So that's a lot of points. He's predicting this to be a higher scoring game. And with that, Blake Hinson over 16 and a half.
Well, they tip at the Peterson Event Center in Pittsburgh at the zoo, as they call it. 8 o'clock Central, right?
Our time,
yeah.
All right, Armin. How many Nooners have checked in so far for the playoff side? Of
So
You Better, You Better?
I do have 4 total picks in already. Ken in the Falls is getting his picks in.
Dialed them in
Tim
already.
For
Okay.
I got Will, and I had more picks on the text line today, and I'm asking everyone to please. I'm asking everyone to please
let me
email
ask you a question.
Please
ask you a
email
question.
Armin Sarian at iHeartMedia.com. Easier to keep track. There's so many of you great texters on the text line that sometimes we lose track. So we don't want that to happen.
No.
So I
How
did
did
get
they
4.
email you?
Armin Sarian, ARMEN SARYAN at iHeartMedia.com. No spaces, no caps. So
Can you put a space in an email address?
underscores, I guess you could put. I get meant like no symbols, no unders. Okay, get
Or
it.
you could just email Tim Scott at iHeartMedia.com too. He will forward that.
We'll forward it on over to Armin. Yeah,
absolutely will.
Tim Scott probably an easier one to remember.
Trying to get a shout out of the guy that was texting him in earlier. If I could find him, it was Tyler and Madison. Thanks, Tyler. Just shoot those things on over to my email, and we'll be
Hey,
good to
thanks,
go.
Tyler. Not good enough. Make sure you email him because otherwise it's not going to
A
count.
reminder though, we need the picks of every game, and we need a score, right, John, of one game.
Yes,
Is that
we need
correct?
One score to find a deviation of the total score.
People were asking,
not the
do
individual scores of each team.
Do I need just a lock or a score and a lock? People were asking those things. So no, just give us a score of one game of your choosing. Right? Is that correct?
Total score.
Total
One
score.
game.
Yeah.
And
One
if
score.
you pick Packers 45, Cowboys 25, and it turns out to be Cowboys 45, Packers 25,
You're good.
You're good. That's a zero.
because of the deviation Don rule. So that's what we call the deviation Don rule, like the Bert Emanuel rule in football.
Sure.
The deviation Don rule.
Yeah, I got all his albums. So as I'm reading through here, just You Better You Bet situation, Pro Football Focus, and you got to always kind of fact check them. Some things,
sure.
especially when you're talking about investments. They had the Packers at 90-1 to win the Super Bowl. Potawatomi Sportsbook a little less favorable, 75-1 to win the Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers.
Put a link in on that. Hope for a nice,
Had some guy
moment.
call us on the post game show telling me like, dude, you got to jump on this. They're only, 10 to 14 to 1. Like, those are horrendous odds for a 7 seed that would have to go to Dallas, beat the best, one of the best offenses in football, go be one of the best teams in football in San Francisco, and then, oh, by the way, go play another road game, either in Philly against the reigning defending NFC champions if they're still in, go to Detroit for a third. Like those are that's not a good enough odds. 75-1, a little bit more appetizing.
A lot
over there,
more
Potawatomi
appetizing.
Sportsbook.
Yeah. No, they have, and the
Especially if you just hit on a Dragon Cash machine, go on in there and just throw a couple of your profits on in there.
You got Dragon Link, you got Dragon Cash, and the futures markets are always fun to look at. And you usually have some pretty good odds there.
33-1 Packers to come out of the NFC. Those are the longest odds over at Potawatomi Sportsbook to be able to appear in the Super Bowl for the 2024.
What's a 7
game.
seed in the AFC? What are their odds?
That's a good question, John. The 7
Pittsburgh?
seed in the AFC would be Pittsburgh.
They have better odds than us.
Pittsburgh at BetMGM earlier today. There was a individual that put it on out. They are the most heavily bet money line dog this weekend at plus 400.
Why? The lack of confidence in Buffalo?
No, it's the odds that you're getting at plus 400, but that is insanity. That
Steelers
Pittsburgh
40-1.
Okay, yeah, so we're beating Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Thank
beating
God.
Pittsburgh.
I
Yeah,
was about
not
to
the
say,
longest
they have
shot.
Pittsburgh over us.
I don't like
Vegas
them at
knows
all. I don't like Pittsburgh at all. But that's just me. Everyone's got their own opinions.
You don't like them, or you don't think they're going to do well?
No, I don't like them in terms of like them to advance and play well. I don't dislike Pittsburgh as a city. I mean,
I think Mason Rudolph finally
it's not about
sees his
Pittsburgh.
shadow.
And I like the Steelers organization, full respect. Heinz, great ketchup. They also have other varieties. 56.
I don't think they really like Heinz anymore. They got rid of Heinz as the naming
They
rights.
took it. Yeah, they took a different.
What are they
deal.
now?
Acrisure, right?
It is the Acrisure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Acrisure Stadium. No idea what that is. Probably insurance or something
Big
like that.
Ketchup had a problem paying those big bills.
Kind of like Big Beer had a problem paying the big bills over here in Milwaukee, potentially over there for the keg. All right, we're back right after this. More reaction on the talking text line throughout, and a little bit more reaction, cleaning some stuff up here in the NFL as Black Monday yesterday. Some more fallout as teams are maybe waiting and maybe hoping a certain college coach now available because the recruitment is on for Harbaugh. We'll discuss it next on The Game.
From the city of Compton to serve me, not with a cherry on top, because when I get through,
It's 9 to noon. John Kuhn, Armin Sarian, I'm Billy Schmid, and Black Monday extends in the National Football League. And this one, I was not expecting to read on off. Sources, the Titans and Mike Vrabel have parted ways. The two sides will move on after 6 seasons that included a Coach of the Year nod. He's expected to be one of the top candidates available. That was the reporting from Ian Rappaport of NFL.com. Diana Rossini of The Athletic pens it. The Tennessee Titans have fired head coach Mike Vrabel. Just 6 weeks ago, the owner had plans for Vrabel to be a part of the organization for years to come, believing they had a top NFL head coach. Obviously, ownership has changed their mind. Mike Vrabel fired by the Tennessee Titans. That's the verbiage as well from Adam Schefter and company, that Mike Vrabel out in Tennessee. I'm pretty surprised by that one, John. I think he's a really, really good football coach.
Yeah. But the difference is when you talk about teams in the NFL, each team has its expectation of where they want to go and what they want to be. And I do agree. I think Mike Vrabel's a really good coach, and I think he'll probably bounce on his feet. And potentially, when Black Monday extends to like Wednesday, and it's found out that Bill Belichick is going somewhere, Mike Vrabel might end up being the next head coach of the New England Patriots, and that's a lot of speculation that's going into that. But you said you were surprised it was only 5 coaches yesterday. I think by the time this is all said and done, it'll end up being 7. That's what I think it'll probably end up being. So that's a little bit more than the 5 that we saw yesterday. And, you know, the Tennessee Titans, their expectations are playoffs. And with back-to-back seasons of not making those playoffs, they're ready to make a move. They're ready to make a change. They're ready to switch things. And we know Derrick Henry most likely won't be there next year as well. So they're in complete remodel, remold, rebuild mode right now in Tennessee, and they got to start that cycle. As there's other teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers that continually make playoffs without the roster that you would expect them to be able to make the playoffs with.
Sure.
Now, a lot of people say in Pittsburgh, well, shouldn't their expectations be higher than just making the playoffs? Well, yes, that's true, but Pittsburgh's they're an organization. I think they've only had like 3 or 4 coaches.
3
entire history.
Now that's crazy, but I think it's only been Chuck Noll, Cowher, and Tomlin
in their entire history.
Am I wrong?
I want to say there was one before Chuck Noll, but I'm not positive.
But okay, maybe it's 4.
Didn't the Steelers start in 1933?
Yeah, I don't think Chuck Noll.
I think maybe since they were since
the merger or something like that.
Maybe
Since the merger.
Yeah.
Well, and Rand Carthon comes in last year and is hired as the general manager after they fired John Robinson. And that's just it just never works, right? Like it can work for a small amount of time, but in the long run, these arranged marriages for a general manager and head coach is not going to pay off. At some point, there's going to be too much friction. There's going to be too much just lack of alignment, I think. And this is all what you end up seeing. And Vrabel's 54-45 in his 6 seasons, went to an AFC title game with a team that I don't think many people anticipated was going to go to an AFC title game when they went in and upset the 1 seed and the unanimous MVP, Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. And I mean, they had KC on the
21-0.
Yeah, they had them on the ropes there at Arrowhead, and it was a run by Mahomes at the end of the first half where he, bounces off a couple of tackles, goes and scores a touchdown that totally changed that game. Vrabes is going to be very sought after. There's some that are already trying to put a line to Jim Harbaugh to Tennessee. I don't know. Harbaugh is going to be up for every single one of these jobs. There's a lot of rumblings that the Raiders are really interested in him. If they don't end up going with Antonio Pierce, Chargers are obviously extremely attractive. It's 1 of 32, so it's obviously attractive. And I laugh whenever I bring this up. Tennessee doesn't seem like an awesome gig to walk on into right now. Like out of the other ones that are available, I don't know that it's the most sought after. The one that would be least would Mike Vrabel being the head coach of the New England Patriots, because you got to follow Bill Belichick. He might be the only one that doesn't care about following Bill Belichick since he's a former Patriot.
Talent there either. I mean, at least in Tennessee, Will Levis did show you some things. I thought, you have something to build on there. Obviously, a lot of it was that first game. He had 4 touchdowns.
You're rolling with Billy Jeans, Armin?
Well, I at least think he gave you something to build off there.
New
that
England's
shows
got
you potential.
New England has the 3rd pick in the draft, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect.
Well, no, they might, and if you're walking into that program and you have a guy in mind, maybe that makes it more attractive. But
No,
yeah.
you telling me Mac Jones, who was put down to the third string emergency quarterback for Week 18, out? Yeah, I mean Dan Orlovsky's still holding out that hope about Mac Jones.
He was the next Tom Brady.
Stunner, man.
No, just ask Malcolm Johnny. He was the next Tom Brady.
Mac Jones
he was a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Man,
no.
they were so excited about him for a while, for a few minutes.
Braves is out in Tennessee. Will Matt Eberflus be next in Chicago? Many people were very, very excited in Chicago for that news, and it didn't happen. And it kind of just hung out there, and it's hanging out there. He's still meeting with different members of the organization, still meeting with ownership. But Mike Vrabel's meeting with ownership. Amy Adams Strunk wanted a fresh perspective after a 6-18 stretch over the last 2 seasons, including 1-9 in division games. Yikes! Yeah, that'll make you move on from somebody with those numbers if you really dig on into it. Might be Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel's final game in Tennessee just this past weekend. All right, we'll wrap these on up. We got our quick takeaways of the day as well. It's not a new game.
I need you to come and rescue me.
How about this one for the now fired Mike Vrabel in Tennessee? During his tenure with the Titans, he was the most profitable coach to bet on straight up as an underdog. 27-30 straight up record. That's a return on investment of 42.5%. Could you name the other two who are the best head coaches in the NFL to bet on as an underdog?
Well,
Tomlin.
Boom. Number 2, Mike Tomlin.
Campbell.
27-23 return on investment of 36.5%.
Dan Campbell.
No.
I thought that was
not
Matt
Dan
LaFleur?
Campbell.
Matt LaFleur?
Not Matt LaFleur.
All right, I'm just keep
I'm
thinking.
thinking of teams now that are going to be likely. I bet
Andy
the one
Reid.
that was probably underdogs a lot. Now I'm going to bet one that's not an underdog a lot because we're going percentage wise, but covers when they are. I'm going to say Ravens.
No, it is not. Do you want me to give you the name?
Yeah, you might as well. We
Sean
guessed 7.
Payton.
Oh, yeah.
15-12 as an underdog. 58.8
hating him, Armin.
ROI.
I don't hate him. Where does this thing came from? Where I hate Sean Payton. I don't hate him at all. I'm just surprised.
He's a tick below your Mount Rushmore that you just gave us earlier.
No.
I've always despised Sean Payton.
Yeah, that's more Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, I dude, when he was the coach of the Saints, I just did not like that organization at all. And it was so much fun to hate him. But now, it's like, okay, well, I guess. Right? So I'm warming up to the fact of Sean Payton.
He's obviously
more than anything. I could not stand that 2019 champion or 2018 championship game where all of a sudden then we got to have a rule change because of a pass interference penalty, and Drew Brees throws the interception in overtime. Did get the ball back in overtime, but yeah, it was a good back and forth.
I think the one thing for
but
me,
I'm coming around.
That's nice of you.
Well,
some of
I
the stories
just
that John has told me about Sean Payton have made me happier.
I understand what it looks like when your team loses an NFC championship game and then a rule gets changed because of it. With that being said, that's one of the most egregious penalties that have ever happened in the history of the NFL when you wait the moment. So you can understand people being emotional after that. Could you imagine had that happened to the Packers?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Good
We'd be talking about it every day.
We too, just like New Orleans did. We would have billboards all the way up and down 41. Maybe they'd take a couple of those Nude X billboards down and put a couple "We Got Robbed" up on 41. I can imagine quite a few. Maybe Video X would pay for those billboards to go up. "We got robbed," and then have a little Video X.
Lions Den is not giving up that advertising space.
Lions Den. Are you going to heaven?
Are you going to heaven?
Lions Den. Like that's usually the progression.
We'd get the going to heaven sign. That's the one sign that would come down for a "We got robbed" in the NFC Championship game.
I think for me, just one thing, right? For me, it's always been
got it in.
I always thought that there was a comparison between him and
Did
McCarthy.
Pagel sell this segment yet before you do it?
No, I don't know.
All right, give it away for free again. What's your one thing?
Lions Den, if you want to buy it. He was, I think, if I remember correctly, it came down to him and McCarthy in Green Bay. That was kind of a decision. And I've always kind of judged those two next to each other. And I always thought that Sean Payton got a lot more love for doing what very similarly Mike McCarthy had done in this league. So I thought it was unfair. So that's kind of where my saltiness about Payton maybe comes from. Because I don't think McCarthy gets the credit he deserves.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Payton went to New Orleans after a hurricane with the city in complete shambles and pulled Drew Brees, who was really looked down upon by many teams in the National Football League. In fact, it was only New Orleans and Miami that even considered Drew Brees because of where his shoulder was after that injury that he took in San Diego. And they rebuilt that place, and they've rebuilt it in a hurry, you know, a little bit differently in Green Bay. You got a quarterback in place in Brett Favre. You got the heir apparent in Aaron Rodgers when you take the job here. So a little bit seen just slightly differently in that manner. But yes, Armin, when you talk about it, one Super Bowl appearance for each, NFC Championship game disaster for each, one Super Bowl victory apiece. So very comparable there, Armin.
Oh, I think so. And I think people have always kind of, there's been this image of McCarthy.
There was a belief that the Packers should have hired Payton when they hired McCarthy.
Like, McCarthy.
And people have held on to that for years, that they would win all these more Super Bowls if Sean Payton was their coach instead of McCarthy.
He got you one, but what would have been if we had the great Sean Payton? That kind of feeling. And I just think, Mac, if you look up look at his winning percentage amongst the great coaches of history. I mean, he's right up there. So I'm just saying.
And now he's
respect.
doing it in Dallas
Yeah.
with Dak and a whole different team, and they flipped that roster around in a couple years for McCarthy as well. Here's
Except this weekend, he ain't doing it.
Here's
Crying
my
on
kind
that skinny
of
vanilla latte.
last thing on this. The reason why people look fondly on Sean Payton down in New Orleans is because he was constantly evolving and adapting as an offense, right? And in really innovative ways. In Green Bay, our adaptation. Adaptation. There you go.
That's good. Yeah.
Our adaptation was to get simpler, less formations, less movement, less variation. And that by Football Insiders trickled down into the media.
That's a really good point, because then it just was like we're relying on our best players to make even more
win the one-on-one
incredible plays. Yep.
Well, I mean, let's just state the facts. I mean, I'm a highly successful NFL head coach.
Yeah, he is. He's going to be crying in that skinny vanilla latte this weekend after the Packers go down there and get a win. Other good news here before the take of the day, brought to you by Quick Trip. Sorry, did I step on?
No,
Coach?
you didn't. No, you didn't. Go ahead.
The Milwaukee Bucks have assigned Jay Crowder to the Wisconsin Herd in the G League, so the Jay Crowder return should be a little bit sooner, hopefully, than many Bucks fans were worried about.
We need you back, Jay. We need a little
some perimeter defense.
We need a little bit of dog back in this team right now.
We need some juice. We need some.
They're struggling right now, so let's just get it right.
How pissed is Giannis right now?
He doesn't seem happy. Does not seem happy right now. But hopefully these are the darker days that give way to the dawn of the playoffs.
And it starts on Thursday by beating the Celtics at home on TNT.
Let's get it done.
Could there possibly be a big move, Marmon? Could there potentially be a big move that turns this tide?
I don't know. Like, what, Fire Griffin? Is that what everyone wants to say every day?
I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying Giannis is not happy. Giannis drives this ship.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they are going to make a big move, John, they can't do anything to the roster. I don't believe.
No.
Their only big move feels like it would be the staff. Take home of the day brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip quickly before the snow gets even worse. You might even find
spaghetti, chicken Alfredo, potatoes, salad. He likes to stick to what he knows.
All right, everybody. 5 pick. Everyone that's asked me on the text line, pick every game. Pick a winner, but the spread is going to be the lines at 10 a.m. Friday from Potawatomi.
Potawatomi.
No, and then one confidence pick and a score from the game. That's it. All right.
That's all it is. Armin Sarian at iHeartMedia.com.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's fine, too.
You know the name, you know the handle. For John Kuhn, for Armin Sarian, I'm Billy Schmidt. We'll try to be better tomorrow on a wide open Wednesday. It's 9 to noon on the game.